viewers feel that English language shouldn't be the appropriate language for this session, I would appeal in advance that it should be, for today is such an important occasion. As you can see, the presiding guest of today, the person of Torera, you can see, he is one of the generations that requires the information that will be made available today. So what is today really about? Wow, many of us have heard, we've read about a very important man now in the spirit world, our Papa, the founder of what we can call Yoruba Nation today. And we've heard a lot about him. We've read a lot about him too. However, unless one is 80 years old, I don't believe we would be able to say we know him. So today is going to be an opportunity for us to hear and listen carefully to those who did meet Papa Awolowo, who knew him well. So today is about listening. Today is not about questioning. The day is about getting into our heads who Papa Awolowo was. I'm going to also say at some point during the program, once my guest speakers have actually delivered the information that's long overdue, I will invite some people to be commentators. I would very much appeal to you that the comments be strictly restricted to the following areas: Awoism, the word Awo, and of course, effective leadership style that we may have encountered, which I consider, and many likewise, will determine whether or not Yoruba Nation of the future will be fit for purpose. So it's about the fitness of Yoruba Nation for purpose, the purpose to deliver results to many people worldwide. Yoruba Nation is beyond the geographical area called Nigeria. It's now as far as Tobago. It's now as far as United States, and so on and so forth. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get down to business. And I hope we will all thoroughly open our minds wide to listen, eradicate all whatever we may have heard, but receive the evidence from the witnesses here today. I wish all of us happy deliberations. Over to you, Torera.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am. Okay, so I would like to introduce our first speaker. Please, everybody, if you can welcome Papa Chief Ayo Adebanjo, Finifere Chieftain. Thank you, sir. Over to you, sir.
So we might have to move to the next one. It's not on the list yet. It's not there yet.
Okay. So we'll move to the person who would have been second, who is Ambassador Dr. Olatokunbo Doshumu Awolowo, and she is the last biological child of Papa Awolowo. Please welcome, ma'am. We welcome you.
Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Your Excellency, Chief Olusegun Oshoba. Good morning, Erelu. I must thank you especially for organizing this session today, for people to have an opportunity to listen to those who actually knew Papa and interacted with him, in the hope that they would learn a thing or two about leadership, the ideal kind of leadership that we need in Nigeria. I was actually hoping that Papa Adebanjo would have spoken before me so that I could take my bearing from whatever he may have said, but it doesn't matter. Who was Papa Obafemi Awolowo? I was instructed by Irelu that my presentation should concentrate more on his leadership at home, his leadership in the family. But I think I will go beyond that if I have a little time. As you all know, Papa was a public figure for much of his life. He started with the Nigerian youth movement. He was active in the Motor Transport Union. And then, of course, later in the Agbe Oduduwa, which was formed in 1945 in London. And then later on in 1950-51 with the Action Group, and then, of course, into government. By the time I was born, he was an extremely busy man. He was involved in government for much of my childhood. So we didn't see much of him in the house. And he was acutely aware of that as well. So he tried to ameliorate the effects of that for us. He had chocolates and biscuits in his room that he used to sweeten things, just to make us feel good for the little time that he was around. But more importantly, his leadership was unquestioned, even though he wasn't there. What made him most effective, however, is that he worked completely in tandem with Mama. They were a team. And he trusted Mama implicitly with everything that went on in the house. And as it turned out later, with most things that went on in the public sphere as well. So he trusted Mama. Mama was the one that delivered to us either discipline or whatever else. But what I remember very, very clearly is that he was the kind of leader in the home that expected, he assumed that we would take our cue from his actions and his behavior and what he did at home and in public. In other words, he led by example. When we became old enough to be able to discuss and interact with him in a really meaningful way, once in a while, when he got the chance, he would sit with us and just generally talk about life. He would delve into philosophy, he would delve into spirituality, and try to teach us and train us. The lessons I took away from those sessions were: one, integrity is everything, absolutely everything. Never do unto others what you would not want people to do unto you. In other words, love your neighbor as yourself. Never covet other people's goods and possessions. Never want things that you cannot acquire legitimately. He taught us never to get used to anything. If you ever get the chance to get into public office, never get used to anything that you cannot provide for yourself outside of that office. Otherwise, what will happen is that you will do absolutely anything and everything to remain in that office, both legitimate and illegitimate. He taught us so many things, so many ideals of life. To some, unattainable, but to him, it was easy because he put into practice what he wrote in his book, what he called mental magnitude. Mental magnitude simply means that you conquer negative emotions like anger, fear, jealousy, all those things. You have to conquer them inside of yourself so that you subsume them and use positive emotions to deal with others. I remember on one occasion, when he sat with us, it was in Ikenne, in his sitting room in Ikenne, and Papa suddenly, he came out with a statement that he said to us, are you aware that I'm a mystic? Well, at that time, I didn't even know what a mystic was. So I couldn't answer the question. It was way over my head. And then he said, are you also aware that my name has taken a life of its own? And that even I, that is himself, that even I use that name, that it's got a life of its own. Well, we continued to listen. And then the clincher, he said, I want you to know that none of you can tarnish that name any longer. He said, you can use that name. It can work for you if you use it properly. But if you don't, he said, you are on your own. Those were his words. So that for me is a lesson for everyone, that both in politics, outside politics, anyone who claims a filial or relationship, or whatever relationship with Papa, that name is available to all. But unless you use it in the way that that name was forged, because that name was forged in the crucible of sacrifice and a lot of work, a lot of hard work, and service to others. But if you don't use it in that way, then it doesn't work. You're on your own. So at home, you know, that's in a nutshell who Papa was. He wasn't there all the time, but the little time he spent with us, he made count. And Mama stood in the gap for him. And if I may just delve into the other issues for which this meeting was called, in other words, his leadership style, what exactly did he stand for? What was his attitude towards the Yoruba nation? What were his feelings? What was his vision for the Yoruba nation? That can be found in the aims and objectives of the Agbe Oduduwa, which he formed together with his colleagues in 1945 in London. Because in those aims and objectives, they already recognized, they acknowledged the disunity in the Yoruba nation. And the first item on the aims and objectives was to forge unity within the Yoruba nation. So that was the first thing. They also talked about the economy of the Yoruba nation, looking at the resources that were available, harnessing all those resources for the benefit of all the people. They talked about education, mass education, and research into Yoruba culture, language, and doing everything to preserve the language, culture, and all the rest of it of the Yoruba nation. And then they talked about, getting rid of superstition and health and all the other issues. But I have to say that in all of that, they still talked about the Yoruba nation within the context of a federal Nigeria, because part of their aims and objectives was to reach out to similar organizations in other nations within the Nigerian space, and to encourage them to put in place all those objectives that they had set out: education, health, and economy. So my question to the other speakers, and perhaps to everyone who is participating in this, is that all those aims and objectives are still relevant now. We still haven't reached our goal. Why is that? Why is the Yoruba nation so disunited still? Why is our economy not doing better? Why is education the way it is right now? And health and all the rest of it? And why is there still not, well, a lot of work is being done to collaborate with other nations within the Nigerian space, but we still have quite a bit of a way to go. And then I have to say that until Papa died, he did not see the possibility that we would be in the situation we're in right now, where there is despair about the continued existence of Nigeria as a nation, where there's so much agitation for separatist, to separate and go our different ways. So perhaps, we need to look into that and maybe come up with some solutions. I haven't spent 20 minutes, but I think I would like to stop here. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma. Thank you. That was very, very insightful. So now I would like to hand it over to our convener and the initiator, please. If I can hand it over to you, Ma. Thank you, Ma.
Thank you very much, Torera. Ẹ ṣeun púpọ̀ lọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀. Yèyé, bẹ́ ṣe ń sọ yẹn ṣe ló mi fẹ́ máa bọ́ lójú mi. I'm saying, as she was sharing her knowledge, I felt quite tearful. I think I felt closer to Papa Awolowo than I have ever been. And thank you very much for your down-to-earth, bare truth information. Papa Adebanjo was looking for the link. I'm not sure if Papa is now here. He's still not here yet. He was looking for the link. I spoke to him just a while ago. It looks as if I'm going to have to hand over back to you so you can bring in our next guest speaker of honor. Over to you, Torera.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma. I'd just like to remind everybody, if you have any questions, then you're more than welcome to send them via WhatsApp, please. The number will be there on the invitation that you were sent via Zoom, and your questions will be addressed. So I'm going to swiftly move you on to the next guest speaker of today. Please, everybody, if you can welcome His Excellency James Olusegun B. Oshoba. He's the former governor of Ogun State. Please welcome, sir. Welcome. How are you?
Can you hear me now? Because you booted me. Am I audible? Am I audible? Okay. All right. I want to thank Rilu for organizing this conference. And I want to thank Excellency Ambassador Awolowo Dusumi for leading us on. I was one who insisted that in the Awolowo family, political family, seniority is highly regarded and respected. I then suggested to Rilu that Papa Adebanjo, being the oldest, should be the number one, and Ambassador Awolowo Dusumi, being the living legend of a legend, should follow, and then I should come in as a member of the family politically. So I want to thank the organizers, because the problem we have in Nigeria is the fact that we don't read history anymore, which is unfortunate. By now, Papa Awolowo and his philosophy should have been a subject for history, if not in anywhere, to start with from the whole Western region, and then to the entire Nigeria and perhaps the world. My experience with Papa is this. I will start with Ambassador Awolowo Dusumi. She said, Papa has greatest respect for Mama. I will corroborate that, because in the house, Mama is the leader in the house for my study of Papa. At the table, when we get to dining, Mama sits as the head of the table, and Papa sits to the right of Mama. Never has Papa ever presided at dinner. That is to show you the respect and love that Papa had enormously for Mama, as the leader of the house, to preside at dinner. And Mama, on her part, I've never seen her ever confronting Papa on any issue. And when Mama wants something done that may be difficult to get Papa to accede to, she will take her time, bid her time, talk to people around, and somehow find a way of eventually persuading Papa to see where she wants this to go to. She was not one of those young ladies of today. And Ambassador Awolowo Dusumi and I discussed this one time. And she said, Mama is not of today's ladies who always confront the husband. So you can see the mutual respect between Papa and Mama. And this served as an example of a good family relationship that we should emulate by all of us who are with Papa. Another other private life of Papa is this. People say Papa is a vegetarian. They say all kinds of things about Papa. Many of them are not correct. Papa is a normal person, eats normally. It is not true. Papa eats both red meat and chicken. Papa is not confined to vegetarian life. And the best meal in the world, as confirmed by late Tashulari said the best meal he has ever had in his life are the meals he had with Papa Awolowo. Because for Papa, dinner is like a tutorial. His dinner starts around 6 o'clock and ends at about 9. And those of us who had the opportunity to have regular meals with Papa, you are served and you can take as much as you want, and you eat the same thing as Papa will eat, and Papa will spend the time between 6 and 9 to talk to us about life, about his philosophy, about politics, about history. And so anytime we had dinner with him, it's like going to a tutorial, and we always get out of it with a lot of informations and lessons. Now, talking about Papa's philosophy, people also misread Papa and say Papa is a communist. Nothing like that. His philosophy was egalitarianism. And egalitarianism defined by him and defined by the dictionary is equality for all. And that's what is translated in fact, the anthem of the UPN was based on egalitarianism. And in Yoruba, in that hymn, it says, "Bí a ṣe bí ẹrú, la ṣe bí ọmọ." Equality for all, equality of opportunities, equality of everything, education, medical treatment, everything of life should be shared with the right of each person as equal to the other. And therefore, Papa, contrary to what people say, was not one of those socialist or so-called egalitarianism philosophers who would dress casually in an uninviting manner. Papa would dress properly in everything. He would dress neatly. Papa is very neat, pays a lot of attention to hygiene. Papa enjoys the best of life because he believed that everybody must have the best of life. So for him, when Papa, when I look at him, lives a good life. For example, the best car in the world Papa will ride. Papa was the first that I would see in a long wheelbase Mercedes Benz. When Papa sits in the car, Papa likes to stretch his leg. And he had a long wheelbase, and he says, socialism, egalitarianism does not mean you should punish yourself and not give yourself the best. Papa's shoes are usually cut shoes, and he had them in abundance. And the match, when he dresses, you can see that this is a man that we all emulate in terms of appearance, in terms of dressing. In his philosophy as a politician, the egalitarianism thing he followed. At dinner with him, there's no segregation of any kind. The food is put in a bowl, passed around. Papa will take his portion, and you take your portion, and you can eat as much as you want. Again, in his relationship with us, it's egalitarianism. We who are journalists working for him, people don't know, he is the most liberal publisher that we have ever worked. I work with military publisher. I work with governors who are publisher in sketch. I work with military and my publisher in both Herald and Daily Time. But Papa is one publisher who doesn't control what we publish. On many occasions, articles are written in his paper Tribune that are very, very embarrassing to him. I mean, Papa will not raise his voice. I've never had him raise his voice in a manner that is unbecoming. I have never. He will complain in a quiet, gentle manner. And people don't know, they call him a dictator. Far from it. I'll give some example. Papa, on return to civilian rule, in 1979, he had been going around 1976 and 77 around the whole country to galvanize his supporters. Then he formed the committee of friends. And I was in Ilorin with Peter Ajayi. He came to see us in Ilorin and discussed the political situation in Ilorin. And we told him that, well, J.S. Olawonyi is one of your closest reliable supporter, but never try to make him governor. Papa found that difficult to take in. And he said, why? We said, well, Olawonyi is loyal, first-class party man, but Olawonyi's style, he will engage a driver, he will engage a mechanic, he will engage a professor, and he can spend 3 hours that is, you don't put somebody who is really too fundamentalist in his philosophy. When Papa said, èmi àti ọlọ́wọ́ yìí àti ilá ọwọ́ epo àti ilá ọwọ́ ẹ̀jẹ̀. Emmanuel had gone to prison with him. Emmanuel has seen fire and seen rain with him. How will he be able to handle it? Unfortunately, Olawoye was made the candidate. We lost. By the time we had the second round in 1983, Cornelius Adebayo had come in, and Papa allowed primary election to hold. People say that Papa is a dictator. No, I'm coming to, that's what I'm trying to beat up. In 1979, he had his own candidate, Olawoye for Kwara, Papa Alayode for Oyo, Papa Jasin for Ondo. He wanted Odebi, who was his former Minister of Finance and Education at different time, to be for Ogun State. But of course, party members had their own ideas. So rather than handpicking, he allowed power to be held in Lagos, where Jakonde emerged against Onitiri. Onitiri was one of those church of treason too. Jakonde emerged in Ogun. It was a fight between four giants. Bishop Obanjo, Soji Oduduwa, Odebi, and Dr. Otegbeye, before Obanjo emerged. In Oyo, Bolage challenged Papa's favorite, Alayode, and Bolage emerged. In Ondo, it was a tripartite fight between Omobori Owo, Fasomi, and Papa Ajasin. So what I want to say is that, contrary to what people say, that we were the one who introduced primary into the Awolowo philosophy of politics. No. Then after the governors came in, by 1982, the deputies of some of the governors were agitated to succeed them. We had Afolabi in Oyo, who was fighting to go unseat Bola Ige. We had Oduduwa, who was again back to unseat Onabanjo again. Papa allowed primary to take place. So I want to say that Papa is not a dictator, he's a listener, and he conducts meetings by throwing out an agenda. For example, Papa will have made up his mind on what he would like to do. But as a Democrat, whenever he gets to a meeting and overriding contributions supersedes his own views and position, he will succumb to that majority decision and go ahead to implement the decision taken by the party with all energy. I'll give you an example. Papa wanted the governors to come back to be given automatic ticket. That was Ambrose Ali, Bola Ige, Elijah Konde, Papa Ajasin, those UPN governors, in any case, to be given automatic ticket. And we were in a convention in a National Theatre. So Papa gave his opening speech and said that the first right of refusal should perhaps be given to the governors. And somebody in the hall, but Papa suggested that, went and offloaded a fire extinguisher and created a kind of explosion in the hall. All of us scampered and ran away. Papa sat quietly at his seat until the whole thing calmed down. And Papa told us later that he will not run until he knows what is pursuing him. So when Papa forced me to be reconvened, he was not scared. So he said, well, everybody was shouting, we want shadow, we want shadow. Shadow meaning they wanted a primary election. So Papa agreed and said, if you want a primary election, so go for it. And that is to show you how democratic, how a listening person Papa is, and how he will always succumb to what the majority wants. So this is philosophies. I want to debunk a lot of things that they say about him, he's not a communist. He's a man who enjoys life, and he's a man who wants everybody to enjoy life. He's not a dictator. He will throw issues open. He's a man who is all-embracing. We were younger, but he treated us like equals. Felix Adnake, Peter Ajayi, and myself were regularly invited every other week to have regular meal with him, at which we get full tutorial. And not only that, he encouraged us as young people. He decided that we'll be at all party organs, I repeat, all, including direct access to him. So we, as the media practitioner working for him, were able to observe all organs of the party, the process of decision making. He made us special member of National Working Committee, National Executive Committee, everything, so that when we run our newspaper, we don't have to look at our back. We know the philosophy of the party. We have seen the party arriving at decision making, and then we can run our paper the way we want. I'll give another example. There was a time when late Admiral, the Lagos State Government, let me remember, Admiral was trying to do some CFO for Papa, and then Tribune went and wrote a terrible article about him. Papa was really very upset. But when he called us to a meeting, he just complained about what we had done to embarrass him. But he never sanctioned anybody, because he believed that people should have a right, even where he is himself embarrassed. And what I'm trying to remember is Admiral Igbe was then the governor of Lagos State. We embarrassed Papa, and all the writers of Ashagari, because at that time, people like Tola Deni, Abba Said, will write and attack the person of Ashagari to the discomfort of Papa. But Papa never wanted to interfere with the opinions of the columnists working in his own newspaper. So I've given examples of the, I don't want to go on and on and on and take too much time. I'll stop here at the moment.
Let me just put on my video. Thank you very much. Thank you. That was very insightful. So I am an Ijebu. I'm a Ijebu girl born in London and born in the UK. And my name is Torera Ebun Olaya. And I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today. I'd like to introduce you to our next speaker. We've been having some insightful, very, very insightful speakers today. And I'd like to introduce you to our next speaker. Please, everybody, if you can, welcome to the floor, Papa Chief Ayo Adebanjo, Afine Bere Chieftain. Welcome, sir. How are you, sir? Please, if you could come to the floor. We welcome you. We welcome you. And I would also like to greet you as well in Ijebu by saying to you, Ewesho. Papa, is Papa Chief Ayo Adebanjo here?
Yes, I'm here. And you want to say Ewesho.
Ewesho.
How are you?
Ewesho, sir. Welcome. It's a pleasure to see you, sir. Welcome. So I'll hand it over to you, sir, please, if you could please share with us.
I met you in the program. I don't really know where you want me to start. What do you want me to say?
Let me come in. Papa káàbọ̀ sá o, ṣé dáadáa lẹ dé?
Adúpẹ́ o.
Ẹ ṣeun sá. Ẹni ìjókòó wa, a fẹ́ gbọ́ láti ẹnu yín. Ẹ̀yin tí ẹ mọ àwọn dádì wa, Papa Awolowo. A fẹ́ gbọ́ láti ẹnu yín. Kí ni irú èèyàn wo náà jẹ́? àwọn ìrírí wo ni ẹ rí nípa ìbálòpọ̀ yín pẹ̀lú wọn? Kí ni bàbá dúró fún? À ń gbọ́ awoism, 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 à ń gbọ́ awo. Àti pé gbogbo ìrìnkèrindò tó wà ní ilé ayé yìí, mo làbàdé. Let me add by saying, Papa, we've been using English language because this particular session is extremely important. You can see I deliberately put Torera in charge because I want everybody to note that we have generations like herself who requires to know as much as they can. Even our set, anyone who is even 70 cannot claim to know Papa Awolowo. We've been privileged to hear from Dr. Awolowo Dusumu, the daughter who has shared with us what Papa was like as a father and other aspects, and also left us with questions that we may have to put to you at some point. Likewise, His Excellency Chief Oshoba has also told us incredible things. Things nobody would be able to read in any book, I would dare say, even if how many of us have the time to read books? So, Papa, rumors suggest it's possible you probably have known or did know Papa for a considerable number of years. So we are inviting you today, sir, to openly share with us who Papa was, what this wisdom is all about. Is it going to be the solution? Has it been a solution? Where have we gone wrong? Have we got the style that will provide us with the Yoruba nation that is fit for purpose? Leadership style, I mean, what kind of leadership do you consider would be most appropriate in line with what Papa left us? He left us with a legacy. And I think it is through people like you that we can be clear or clearer what the legacy is all about. So over to you, Papa.
Thank you very much. When you ask a person like me to speak about Papa the life, then you don't want to do that within 3 or 4 or 30 minutes. You want to write a book. But as much as possible, I try to, what the English people say, I perceive whatever I could say as much as possible. First of all, I'd like to start by saying what makes Awolowo what it is. It is the principle and belief ab initio that this country cannot be ruled under a unitary form of government. Since when we are under colonial people, people who have been following his biography, you follow that the federalism we are talking about today that is causing a lot of dispute in Nigeria, and the unitary form of government that is causing dissension and all that, Chief Awolowo has predicted it and has warned against it even before we had the independence. He wrote the book, Path to Nigerian Freedom in 1947, I think, in which he warned that the British people shouldn't give us a unitary form of government because of the heterogeneous nature of our society. That book was, the fall of that book was by Mary Parham, one of the British colonial people at that time. He spread out there how a country with this heterogeneous nature, different in culture, religion, and ethnicity. He explained all that there. But when the British made the Macpherson Constitution in 1950, it was a unitary form of government. And then the action group led by Chief Awolowo took part in the election. One became the government of Western region, more or less on protest. But because of running that Macpherson Constitution, Chief Anthony Nauro, a member of the action group in the Federal House, moved a motion in 1953 asking for self-government for Nigeria. The colonial governor then, Sir John McPherson, forbade all members of the cabinet from his cabinet not to take part in that motion. At that time, members of the cabinet were formed by regional representation, East, West, and the North. And those representations will be sent by the majority of the government in each region. And at that time, the action group ruled the Western region, the East NCNC, and the North NPC. The action group sent Chief Akitola, Chief Ode Thomas, Chief Ato Press, and then the late Oni of Ife, not Chigade Obaderemi, as a minister of that portfolio. It was this group of these ministers from the West that Sir John McPherson said, if you are going to move a motion for independence in 1953, you must not take part. And our members say, wow, that is why our people send us to parliament. And he said, anybody who took part is going to sack him. He said, that would be easy. Then he said, and he gave a rider that you will only be sorry that you will have to sack Sir Jeremy. Then Jeremy said, no, I will save you that bother. I will resign. Because there was a KB and the night of the Empire. Our members took part. And Sir John McPherson, to his word, sacked them. And again was still obliged because he can't just choose a minister. He has got to get ministers from the regional House of Assembly. So he sent the Western House of Assembly again for new members. And the action group said the names of those he sacked. That was the beginning of the crisis. So the Nigeria there was standing on a tripod. One of the legs has broken, so the tripod couldn't stand. This was what led the colonial office under Los Chandos to call the representatives of the Nigerian people to come and discuss the crisis. It was at that time the Northern region said, because of the uniform of government we are having, because of the motion we are moving, they were not ready for it. And because they were booed in parliament, because they didn't support it, so that said, Araba, that no more Nigeria is going, and went away and initiated the 9-point program. So when they were summoned to London, she told pleaded with Saldana, you don't have to leave the country. If it's a question of you being dominated under a unique form of government, there's a form of government that we can call together, we can have a united Nigeria, not only under a unique form of government, but under a federalism. And he explained it to him, that the type of federalism we're having is the region will be autonomous. We only give specific functions to the federal government. And that was also done in 1953 and reflected in the constitution of the country in 1954, whereby the position of creation of premiership was created. Awolowo became the premier of Western region, Savannah Eastern region, the way with Northern region, and Abzigo the Northern region. But the functions then were so, people don't understand many times when we talk of regional autonomy under federalism, which made Awolowo the father of federalism in Nigeria today, which made him the apostle and the advocate of united Nigeria peacefully. We all had that freedom to the extent that each region, the constitution of each region at that time was written separately. And this region was free to the extent that they could establish an embassy abroad. Many of our conservatives didn't in the unification. When he opened his own embassy in London, Western Nigeria office in London, the late Chief Emir Oduduwa was the first agent general. He was mocked, he was criticized, but the other regions later on followed. We opened our office in London then at 15A Kensington Palace Gardens, which was later taken over by Obasanjo under a federal system. We were the fourth of the regions exercising its autonomy freely. It was at that embassy in London that I got married in 1960 under the chairmanship of late Chief Akitola. All the requests of the Western government, instead of going to the colonial office of the federal government, was sent to our general's office in London to show our autonomy. Because when we talk about this federalism, the autonomy, many people don't understand. It was at that government, that conference too, that it was agreed that the revenue of the country must be based on derivation. I would have fought for it. That is now what is called resource control that people are now talking about. At that time, when they were talking of the 50% resource control and the all tax of tobacco on wine and everything, and the Shavdana said, no, that shouldn't be regional, it must be federal. I said, Shiraolo said, my dear, your people don't drink, they don't smoke. My people drink and smoke. The repercussion of drinking and smoking, I have to take care of it. You have that problem. That was he won that problem that even taxes on tobacco was residual. Through that system, each region had plenty of money. Western region had a lot of money through cocoa. The northern region had plenty of money through granules. The eastern region through palm kernels. And there was plenty of money for everybody. Now, that is the origin of federalism until it was changed in 1966. So then we are talking about what Awolowo left what it could be remembered for, and why many of us have a passion for him. When many of us are uncompromising Awois, because it is what system he has predicted from the word go that was run successfully for good 8 years, from 1952 to 1960. That all the development at that time is what we are still enjoying today in Nigeria. He introduced the free education, free medical services, integrated rural development, the tallest building in Nigeria, Western Nigeria Broadcasting Station and TV, and we are moving fine. It was a competitive system at that time. He built the Dibadi Stadium, Ahmadu Bello built the Ahmadu Bello Stadium. And Okpara did a lot of development in the East, and we are doing fine. Until the coup of 1966, when the British changed the constitution to what we are now, that's given us a lot of problems. So and in establishing that government of self-government, that he laid the standard to the extent that the Prime Minister, Sir Aaron Wilson at that time, said Awolowo could be a premier in any modern country in the world by the standard of the government that he established in the whole Western region. And it is to be recorded that all the development he had, the free education, free medical services, on no occasion did he have cause to approach Baliwa for subsidy, because the revenue allocation, the system of the civil revenue had been established. Nothing has been done arbitrarily. Unlike now, Because what is causing the trouble now, which many people don't know, and why we need to give praises to Awolowo, was the way the country is being run under its unity form of government. The number of states, the number of local government that is created now is not based on any system. It's just arbitrary. It was the northern soldiers in 1966 that created this constitution against the South in particular. They created the number of local government in an arbitrary form that Lagos and Kano, that had the same population at that time, they created more local government in Kano. They separated Jigawa from Kano and created another state. And now say the number of local government they distributed will be the basis of distributing revenue. That is part of the fraud in this constitution. That is the part of what we are fighting for under restructuring. And when we talk of restructuring, let me make it clear I have an issue. Restructuring is not a philosophy. It is to structure the country from this unity form of government back to federalism, which I will not establish, under which we had a peaceful government. So all the achievements, pardon? There was an interruption. Am I to stop? Hello?
Sorry, sir, there should be no interruption. Please mute everybody. Thank you. Please continue, sir.
I just want to collect where I said. Anyway, I said that on no occasion, all the development he made at that time, he had no occasion to go to Balewa for any subsidy because the system of allocation of revenue had been established under the constitution. It is not under this constitution that the army dominated constitution that declared that the central government now will be feeding the local government from the one they get in an awkward form, to the extent that those who contributed 10 naira will now be collecting 20,000 naira. They now use land mass as a basis of distributing energy, of distributing money. A land does not, an area that does not develop anything to be getting more money because of the desert layer. They have false population. It is on this occasion they say now, look at those who are listening, to show you the fraud in this constitution. It is in our own country alone that we run against geography. The geography that I learned, that I know that you learn, is the nearer the desert, the fewer the population. In America, in India, in New Zealand, in anywhere in the world, in Russia, in China, the nearer the desert, the fewer the population. Only in Nigeria, the nearer the desert, the fewer the population. And those of us who live here know how false that is. So, by asking us to go back to federalism shows us that, well, we go back to where everybody is in control of his own region. Federalism does not mean separation of the country. It only shows every region, every rating unit will develop at its own space. This is what we have to explain and emphasize to our people. And those who want to do mischief, they say want to do restructuring, want to go back to Awolowo. Because at the time we were advocating this federalism, there was no name they didn't call Chief Awolowo. The northern people are now insisting that we must go on with it. And the eastern people, they say, oh, he's a Pakistanist, he's a regionalist. There was no name. And in fact, if I may mention, it was after the London Constitutional Conference of 1953 that Dr. Azikwe himself became a federalist. And I have been asking journalists, people like Oshoba and Go, particularly it was in the Daily Times, they can do the research in 1954, 53 or 54, on the return from London Constitutional Conference. The Daily Times published the arrival of the plane, in which at the airport at Ikeja, Dr. Azikwe declared federalism is imperative. I wish somebody could do that research. I'm mentioning to it every time. Because before they went to that conference, Azikwe was a unitarist. It was at that conference that Los Santos called that he became a federalist. And when they were returning from London, himself, Olabayogu, McQueen, and all his leaders bought Ware's book on federalism to educate them, because they had the first lesson at the conference which Awolowo gave them. So all the things we are talking of in Nigeria today, if we had followed what Awolowo laid down on the principle of federalism, we wouldn't be in this trouble. Because if we begin to expand on what we are having now, be it Boko Haram, be it everything, all is based on the fact that this country is too big for anybody to control from one center. And to debunk those who think that we are after separation, nobody, and I repeat, nobody, not even the head of state, Buhari, we have been championing the cause of this country, I in particular, with Chief Awolowo, since 1950, we have been talking of federalism of this country, keep on the Nigerian country. When Buhari was a toddler, he's 74 now. In 1979, I spent one whole year in Borno, where you have Boko Haram now, advocating the cause of UPN there for federalism. My party then had a candidate named Olbasi. He died about a month or two ago under our platform. So if you don't want the United Country, you want to take me there. I was there as a lawyer, a practicing barrister, when Chief Awolowo posted me there to go and campaign for. So the question of federalism is not a question of separation. It's a question of living together under an agreed constitution by every federate unit. No cheating. If you want to be your Sharia, you can do it there. If you want to do your customizing, you can do it there. And I continue to say, Chief Awolowo, the way he has expounded on federalism, if the present government, the APC, and the General Buhari, if they are sincere, I allude to the fact that restructuring is not different from what Sardauna, Awolowo, and Azikwe agreed to at London Constitutional Conference of 1954, which was reflected in the Constitution of 1960 to 1963. I'm expecting anybody to refute this. And when I'm referring to that, I'm not saying the Constitution, you go back to 3 or 4 regions. The principle of federalism established in that Constitution should be reflected in whether it is 4 states or 4 regions or 10 or 8 for peace and quiet. But you cannot continue to have a constitution that which this president is the most powerful president in the whole world. It will not work. And that's why we have this problem. The people of South have said they want their resource control. The Igbos are saying they want Biafra. If we have this constitution as we have under federalism, all this agitation for separation will go down. Those who want to do will go down. But if you don't, this agitation will continue. And those of us who are asking for this federalism, we are the peaceful advocates of unity in this country to stay together. Anybody opposed to it or reluctant to do it now, they are the people who want the country to separate. because the people are being oppressed under this constitution. We will not agree to this constitution being continued like that, and there will be no peace. Agitation will continue. And one thing is clear. Chief Awolowo repeated the question of federalism, even in his book, Thoughts on Nigerian Constitution. Explain it to everybody. And we had a parliamentary system that was cheaper to run. If we sit down and agree on the constitution as we did in 2014, which we presented to Buhari, he doesn't like it, let him set up his own committee. But we are thinking that for peace and quiet for a short time, put it down, set up a committee to look into what you don't like in 2014, check it out, what you want to put it in, and then we move on in peace. I don't see there's any problem in that. But if you believe that was because Jonathan set it up, I would follow, then you set up your own. But I have challenged him before that the people who made the 2014 Constitutional Conference, including Segun Oshoba, the judges there, the quality of the people there, how it's passing through all across the board, the youth, journalists, lawyers, judges, medical doctors, all young and old. He cannot assemble better quality people. And I challenge him openly. So, my dear, there is peace in Nigeria if people will go along with peace program Awolowo has established. That is why Awolowo is the legend of peace, is the legend he has established and made a system by which can live together irrespective of our language and everything. The British people have brought us together by force, not by consent, but we have enjoyed the economy of scale by living together. But the unity we are having is the unity of the horse and the rider. Where the North is want to be the rider and want to meet the South the rider, the horse. This is what is causing trouble. So when you talk about how to create peace in this country, Chief Awolowo has already told us the path to go. It is reluctant to do it, and why the present government is refusing to do it, I don't know. That's why I believe there must be a written agenda. The question of Fulanization, the question of concentration of power in the Fulani is under this system. By the time we do restructuring, back to federalism, all that will go. Then there will be peace. Then we live together in peace. This is what we want. We structure the country now, as Awolowo has said, so that we can live together in peace forever. Thank you.
Thank you, Eshe Puposa. Thank you very much. Very passionate, very candid, very enlightening. Thank you so much. I would like to now give the floor to our convener. Please, everybody, if you could welcome, please, if you could give a warm welcome to Erelu Tuashe of Ode Remu. Please welcome her.
Thank you, Torera. It's a poignant moment. Daddy, ẹ ṣeun púpọ̀ sà, mo dúpẹ́ púpọ̀ lọ́wọ́ yín. Ọjọ́ òní ọjọ́ tó ṣe pàtàkì ni. Olódùmarè jẹ́ ká máa rí yín pẹ́pẹ́pẹ́pẹ́. Olódùmarè kó jọ̀wọ́ kó túbọ̀ bá fún yín ní àlàáfíà àti ẹ̀mí gígùn, nítorí pé ibi tí a bá ọ̀rọ̀ yìí dé báyìí, ibẹ̀ náà lẹ sọ dé. Ẹ ṣeun púpọ̀. Ladies and gentlemen, I've just thanked Papa because we have now come to the poignant moment. We've all heard it from Papa. We've heard that we are faced with a situation where the government of the day is not listening. After being in a political party in Britain for 36 years, 16 years out of which I served, I heard what Papa said very clearly. And let me repeat what I'm hearing, because Today is very important. Nobody knows what tomorrow will hold. Many of us remembers the Ethnic Nationalities Conference, and many of us also would remember that a lot went on. But we have got to a situation now where we are hearing Papa Adebanjo saying the legacy that our sage, late Papa Awolowo, has left us, the legacy, the recipe, can deliver results. And we are faced with a situation where there's a block. Someone somewhere isn't listening, and that person is nobody but the government. Let us face that here and now. No matter how passionate our Papa is, no matter how passionate I am or His Excellency, who has served and has an insight into the thinking of a Nigerian government, no matter how passionate. I think the question must be put now. Is it a fact that we have come against the bloc? We are not being listened to. Is it a fact that not being listened to means those concerned will do as they wish? Is it that we have room for negotiation? I'm going to start off by putting that question to somebody I know who's been in government before, who's been a governor, who's got the insight into the thinking of governments, and to ask Tora, please, to invite His Excellency Chief Oshoba, to please answer two questions for me. Is it a fact that we are not being listened to right now? That the issue of forging ahead with the recipe left by our sage is totally being ignored? Is it a fact? Is there room for us to remove the block, or we are totally stuck? Over to you, Torera. Please invite His Excellency.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. So ladies and gentlemen, please, I'd like to invite His Excellency Chief Oshoba. Please, if you could welcome him, sir. Please welcome to the floor, sir. We would like to welcome His Excellency Chief Oshoba. Please welcome, sir.
Thank you. As Papa Adebanjo stated, federalism has been the core of Papa's philosophy in respect of governance. And unless one is a bastard, as we are not bastard, anybody claims to be in the political family of Papa Awolowo must be a core federalist, as some people have in platform now they call federalists. I keep saying that whether we like it or not, depending on how we handle it, Nigeria definitely cannot go on the way we are going on. That one is clear to everybody. The only difference is how do we approach it? There are so many ways to approach it. I will start with some example. United Kingdom, they keep claiming that they are United Kingdom. I don't know what is united amongst them anymore. Even this pandemic, the Scottish government was not in agreement in most of the time with Westminster. Neither was the government in Wales. In the UK, that have been on for centuries, there have been devolution of power authorities from the Westminster, the Parliament, to both Scotland and Wales, which is now demolishing the so-called United Kingdom into regionalism and federalism. And I'm confident that if tomorrow they repeat the referendum in Scotland, following the Brexit, if Britain can get out of Europe, I can assure you that Scotland. So in spite of centuries, UK has arrived at having to devolve power and maybe go their way. So we in Nigeria is an example. For many years, Russia dominated the USSR, and we are made to think that communism was a religion, was everything, until Gorbachev came and went to the People's Congress to now dissolve USSR and let Ukraine, all of them, Georgia, go their ways. And Russia remained Russia. Again, perestroika. The translation of perestroika is structuring. So Russia went its way after many years of communism. I'll keep giving an example of Yugoslavia. Marshal Tito gave the impression as if Yugoslavia was one country until they started butchering each other. So Czechoslovakia is another example. The Slovak and the Czech negotiated and went their ways. So it is now open to Nigeria. It's either we go through a system of getting this thing restructured through the system that we all have been arguing is that we cannot get at it by a stroke of a pen. It's not possible. It has to be negotiated. And I'm saying that we have the Yoruba agenda. My own argument is that let us try to bring as many as we can, because there are so many tribal groups, so many nationalities, so many ethnic groups in the north that are also suffering. So to think that Nigeria will continue the way we are, we will be an exception in the world, which is not possible. And I will continue to preach that the way that I think is that we should engage everybody. We should talk to as many groups as possible, sell our philosophy, our agenda to them. Because at any time, even if you go to war, let's assume that today Nigeria will break into different groups and start fighting. At the end of the day, there is no other way out than to say at the end of the war, we will have to go back to a conference table. That's my position.
Thank you very much, sir. I heard clearly, and I'm very grateful for your response. As an experienced politician, my question still remains. Where is the channel of communication? Where are the negotiators? Sọ fún wa wípé ohun tí ó yẹ ká mú ṣe ni wípé kí a ṣe atótónu lórí ohun tí a fẹ́. Àwọn ọgbọ́n tí bàbá wa Awólọ́wọ̀ fi ilẹ̀ ọ̀nà ìlànà tán gbélẹ̀ fún wa. À ń sọ fún wọn pé a fẹ́ lò wọ́n dá wa lóhùn bí mo ṣe ń gbọ́ yìí. Ní tí mo wá ń bi ìsà ni wípé tí a bá fẹ́ kí a yanjú ọ̀rọ̀ yìí ní ìnùbí ìtùnbí, ohun tó máa ṣe pàtàkì ni pé àwọn kan láti máa bá àwọn gọ́fọ́mẹ̀ntì sọ̀rọ̀. Let me put it in English. I cannot see who are the people engaging the government in dialogue. From experience of British politics, I am concerned about the Yoruba politicians in Abuja. The Yoruba politicians voted for by their constituents. I'm unclear what position they are. I have the question for you, sir, again. From what you are saying, it doesn't appear there's any effective channel of communication. Kò dàbí pé àwọn kan bára wọn sọ̀rọ̀, àwọn ló ń bára wọn sọ̀rọ̀ àrí, àwọn ló yẹ kó máa bá wọn sọ̀rọ̀. Mo wá sọ wípé àwọn nígbà tí wọ́n dìbò fẹ́mi tán fi cross sórúkọ mi, àwọn tó sọ pé kí n wá aṣojú wọn nínú òṣèlú, wọ́n ń bá mi sọ̀rọ̀ mo dẹ̀ ń gbọ́. Àwọn tí wọ́n dìbò fún tán wá láti ilẹ̀ Yorùbá tán wà l'Ábùjá kí ni tí wọ́n ń ṣe kìí ṣe àwọn ọlọmọ bá sọ̀rọ̀ ẹjọ́ sà ẹ mọ̀ nípa òṣèlú Nàìjíríà mi ì lè sọ pé mo mọ̀ tó ṣùgbọ́n ní ọ̀dọ̀ tiwa ní ti Gẹ̀ẹ́sì ìlú Gẹ̀ẹ́sì tí mo ti ń gbé láti 17 years old tí àwọn ìlú ò bá nífẹ̀ẹ́ sí tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ àwọn tí wọ́n dìbò fún náà máa lọ bá tí ò bá ń ṣe àwọn tó ń dìbò fún àwọn wo gan-an la fẹ́ lọ bá tí a máa bá sọ̀rọ̀ tí wọ́n máa gbọ́ tá a máa bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ṣe àtótónu ẹ ṣé sà. If you kindly answer in English, I do apologize. I've had to explain in Yoruba.
Odusodele, nínú ìlànà òfin, by the law of this country, by the constitution, as imperfect, as useless as it is, we all condemn it. Those who still have legislative power today are those in the National Assembly and those in the State Assembly. Àwọn èèyàn púpọ̀ àwọn aṣáájú wa wọ́n bá Sàràkí sọ̀rọ̀ kó tó di kókó ọbẹ̀ ó níbi tí Sàràkí ti bá wọn ṣe é dé. There were so many actions taken by the 8th National Assembly to restructure the Constitution, and I keep saying the way out is that if only we have been influencing those who get to represent us at all levels, Senate, House of Rep, House of Assembly, there would have been a lot of pressure on them, and then to talk to them directly. We must be involved in those that get there and ensure that, according to what we have for now, let the National Assembly pass an amendment and let two-thirds of the State Assembly endorse it. It automatically becomes an amendment to the Constitution. That's a way out. The court is another way. Some of our elders have not gone to court to challenge certain provisions. That's what I'm saying. The way to engage those in the so-called in Abuja, whether they are dull-headed, they are the one now elected by the law of this country. Nobody can decree, and I repeat it, the structuring cannot be done by decree. Whatever we do, we still have to go through the National Assembly to pass it and do it. If you don't want to go through that, well, I've been at a conference. The resolution of the conference will have stated that this resolution of this conference will automatically be passed on to the National Assembly to examine and to do whatever they want to do about it. That's my position. Whether we like it or not, those that are there already. And we have to talk to them.
Esheun sir, thank you very much for that, which means I have to go to Papa Adebanjo at the moment, sir. Nítorí pé àwọn ọmọ yín ni sir, àwọn ọmọ yín ni gbogbo àwọn tán jẹ́ òṣèlú wọn yẹn, tán wà ní House of Representatives, ọmọ Yorùbá ni wọ́n, àwọn náà wà ní House of Senate. Ẹ jọ̀wọ́ sir, kí la ṣe fẹ́ pè wọ́n wálé ká lè bá wọn sọ̀rọ̀, àbá ti pè wọ́n wálé rí. Nítorí pé ohun tó ń jáde lẹ́nu Olódùmarè máa ṣe òun ni pé àwọn bíi Ruisa àgbàlagbà bíi tí ń tẹ́tí wà nínú wọ́n fẹ́ kó dá yìí fún tó ti lé ní 70 years. Àwa dé ibi tó jẹ́ pé lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ báyìí a kàn ń pariwo ní àwọn tá a fẹ́ pariwo fún àwọn tó yẹ kó dá wa lóhùn kò dàbí ẹ̀ ń pa àbá wọn sọ. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ Papa sir, my question is this: your children, all these Yoruba elected politicians in Abuja, what has been done, sir, to call a meeting with them and take on what Papa Oshoba is saying and ask them, why aren't they working on facilitating this constitutional change that we require? Papa Ejo, sir, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. My purpose of coming here is to say about Yoruba being divided. I don't want to go into engagement with Oshoba. They are the people disturbing this country. They are the Yorubas who have sold out. And for me to be sitting down here and Oshoba saying we should be going through the assembly, that is his own way out. Is that the way before he became the governor? Is that the system when we are talking of sovereign national conference? He's now asking us to go to the assembly we are complaining about. This assembly was created by this constitution. We say we don't have, we don't know. It was Absalom that created it. And we say to agree on the constitution, call a sovereign national conference for us to agree to the constitution we want to have. That is the only way. You can't ask me to come to get the constitution we want through the constitution, through the provisions of the constitution we are opposing. It's illogical, it's unreasonable. And he has been talking about it, and all of them have sold out. Himself, Tinubu, and every one of them. That is the basis on which we voted for them before they became governors. We are talking of sovereign national conference. And when they came in, go back to it, Papa Adesoya led us to in every House of Assembly in 1991, 1992 or something, to vote for a motion after, before that election. If I may remind Obafemi, and Adeko didn't want to take part in the election on the constitution is changed. The pressure was so much that people are saying, oh, the military want to go, why don't you let them go? We said, no, let's go back to the constitution under which we had independence. If not, these people will do us out. But the pressure was so much that, oh, a lot of people come, oh, the army said they want to go, they are still talking of a conference. We took part in that constitution on the basis, in that election, on the basis of sovereign national conference. We won on the 6 seats. Erelu, another, please listen to this. Because all these are Yoruba people who have sold out and now deceiving us. I'm ashamed. Anyway, I don't want to take this. Now, when they won the election, we now went to the East House of Assembly for them to pass a resolution that sovereign national conference, because we have now had a mandate. Our impression there was that if we didn't take part in this election, they will say we have no mandate. We now have that mandate. We won all the seats in 6 states. And we go to the record of the Erelu, it's in the archives that we must have a sovereign national conference. But when we came in and we told our governors not to go to Abuja until that constitution is done, just the way we did when we withdrew our ministers in the First Republic. They were obsessed with power. They didn't do it. That's why we had today. By now, they have enjoyed the thing so much that they don't mind what is going on. From the word go, we have asked them not to take part in this constitution of Absalom. We didn't make this constitution. Absalom made it. And we are now asking us to use the provision to demand what we want. National Assembly is part of the problem we are having. These are the people earning salaries that could give thousands of people employment. All that was taken care of at the 2014 National Conference in which Oshoba was. And we spent out all these things. And we said, if you call that conference, the only thing to be done is to call a referendum for people to approve the constitution or not. We don't want the constitution by which anybody will be doing the amendment. We want to amend the constitution we didn't make. You only amend the constitution which you make, and you want additional something or distraction. The constitution is a fraudulent document, I repeat. And when I say we didn't make it, who want to say it in one of the interviews of the president of the he was a member of the cabinet of Absalom. And he said that those of them in the cabinet even didn't see that constitution until it was presented. And that is the constitution Oshoba is now asking us to obey because we have no other alternative. So the thing's already there. It is because our Yoruba people, including Oshoba, Tinubu and co, they have sold out. They know because Buhari didn't want the thing, that is what they are stating. Ask him, did we not say sovereign national conference before the election, which he won? Ask him, did we not pass a resolution there? Why did they deviate? You are now tying us to the provision of a constitution we didn't know about. We have no choice because you have been enjoying the perquisites of office as governor. You don't want to offend Buhari. This is not the platform for Awolowo. He's living in denial to tell us that he's so people. Can you go back to the people of Yoruba land and tell them that, or less so? And when Jonathan handed over the 2014 constitution, which spelled out all these things, it is the government is supporting now. See, these people, all because of self. I don't want to come here and say, because this is the way they deceive our people. Now you have called him now because he was a former governor. And he knows all the things, and that is straight another story. And I'm surprised that saying it where he knows I am present. It was under my chairmanship he became the governor. And Tinubu and every one of them. And we gave them the mandate that if you don't do back to federalism, we are not going to have an election. But we had an election, we have the mandate. We now instructed them not to go to Abuja. Then they know that we will be there until we have conference. And now everybody is now talking about going back to it. He's now talking about structuring. Now, the structuring is the manifesto of the APCO. The structuring was supported by Buhari in 2007, and we have very supported him. Because when they talk about it, they say we don't want the Northerners. He supported restructuring when he had Bakari as his running mate. He supported restructuring when he joined APC, when they formed APC. Restructuring is number one on their manifesto. What they are able to. After that, they set up a refined committee. They put it aside. So he doesn't want to talk about it. Please appeal to Oshoba not to come to the public again and be people we don't know what to do. Or there's something there. It is you people who sold out.
Daddy, ẹ ṣé sà, inú ṣẹ́rí mo mọ̀ pé àwọn bàbá wa Awólọ́wọ̀ wọ́n wà níjókòó tó ń bá wa dá sí. Ibi tọ́rọ̀ yìí dé, mi ò tiẹ̀ ní béèrè nǹkan kan lọ́wọ́ àwọn alàgbà wa Chief Oshoba, máa pé àwọn ambassador tí wọ́n jẹ́ ẹni tó wà ní ìjókòó lénìí tó ń jókòó ní orí ìtẹ́ bàbá wa Awólọ́wọ̀. Wọ́n ti gbọ́ tọ̀tún, wọ́n ti gbọ́ tòsì. Máa pé ambassador Dr. Olatokunbo Dosunmu Awolowo. Máa pè yín kẹjọ mà, kẹjọ̀wọ́ ń tẹ́ gbọ́ lọ́tún, tẹ́ gbọ́ lósì lénìí. Bí ẹ ṣe wà lórí ìtẹ́ àwọn bàbá wa Awólọ́wọ̀, kẹ́ ẹ bá wa dá sí ọ̀rọ̀ yìí. Ladies and gentlemen, viewers at home and all those.
It will be unfair.
Okay.
Yes, it will be unfair.
Ẹ fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ sí ìdá ẹjọ́ sà, kátẹ́gùn lè fẹ́ sí ni. Kátẹ́gùn lè fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ ìsà.
It will be unfair to put Ambassador Awolowo Dosunmu sáàrin èmi àti bàbá wa Ayọ̀ Adébánjọ. Ẹ jẹ́ kí n fèsì sí ní ṣókí sí nǹkan tó ń sọ, please.
Ṣé o tẹ́ fẹ́ kí n ṣe yẹn kí má tiẹ̀ fẹ́ kátẹ́gùn fẹ́ sí rárá kí n fara balẹ̀.
Ẹ bá sórí Ambassador, ẹ jẹ́ àwọn aṣọ tiẹ̀, ẹ jẹ́ kí n sọ ṣókí sí nǹkan tó ń sọ yẹn.
Ẹ tẹ̀síwájú sà, ẹ tẹ̀síwájú sà.
Now, I want to clarify. Papa Ayọ̀ Adébánjọ
Yes.
knows that I will never sell out. I did not sell out as a journalist. I live the life that Awolowo preached to us throughout my tenure as governor. I lived in my own house. Throughout my tenure as governor, I used my personal car, like Awolowo preached to us to do. Today, I'm proud to say I'm one of the very few governors to buy any pension of any kind. I get only 676,000 naira a month, which is the salary that I'm entitled to as part of the constitution.
I was cut off. I want to.
Papa Adebayo cut off. Papa Adebayo will be the first to testify that I'm not a corrupt person. So I cannot sell out. I did not sell out as a journalist. I did not sell out in my profession. Mi ò sí lára àwọn tó ń gba owó àbẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀. Mi ò dẹ̀ sí lára àwọn tó ń jẹ ìjẹkújẹ as former governor. Wọ́n gba owó epo, wọ́n ra ilé fún wọn, wọ́n ra gbẹ̀gbẹ̀ síbẹ̀. I only get 676,000 a month. Even Daniel Ngbato Abẹ kò san for a long time. So mi ò jẹ lórí ìjọba, mi ò gba contract ìjọba rí. So selling out does not arise. Mi ò dẹ̀ tọrọ iṣẹ́ lọ́wọ́ ìjọba. I don't want to be ambassador. I don't want to be chairman of anything. I don't want to be vice president. I don't want to be minister. Kò sí nǹkan tí mo wá ètò Ọlọ́run ṣe fún mi, ó tẹ́ mi lọ́rùn. So I can say my mind. That's by the way. Secondly, he knows when I ran the government, I was not one of those who were collecting heavy security vote. My security vote was only 250,000 naira a month. They collect billions, not millions. So the question of selling out does not arise. Now, yes, we agreed, even if you are going to have a sovereign national conference. As a lawyer, Papa, first-class lawyer, top lawyer of many years' experience, to set up that national conference has to be set up by the National Assembly to give it the power of law. The president or anybody has no power to issue a decree. A decree is null and void under a civilian government. When you say sovereign national conference, it means that legislative power is now passed to that body. Who then will pass that power to the body? That is my argument. Doesn't mean that I don't reach consensus. So the idea that we sold out, unfortunately, is the wrong word to use. First of all, when you become governor, none of us ever at that time we could have engaged as Yoruba group too. Now, none of us went to Abuja. Now the thing is this: we decided to take action to restructure Nigeria to court. When we went to court to insist, and the court ruled in our favor that the control of local government is for the state. The Supreme Court ruled in our favor, and that the federating unit are the state, not the local government. We won the case. We went to court on issue of police control, and the court ruled that Obasanjo had no right to be putting his hand in the account of the federation and disbursing money to local government police all over the country. We won. We started testing the constitution on many fronts. There are many ways to get to restructuring. That's the argument. If we are to have sovereign national conference today, I want Papa Adebayo to tell me who will set that. It will be set up by force of law, and the power of that conference must be ceded. You are asking that the power be ceded to sovereign. I accept, but that law setting up the sovereign national conference must be set up by whatever we have now, by the National Assembly. Nobody, no other body. I'm not a lawyer. As a politician, that's what I'm saying. When we were negotiating APC, we insisted, and it's in our manifesto, that there must be true federalism. And it's in our manifesto, it's on Google. You can blame us if we have not been able to get it. Yes, fine. Abuse us on that, but we are not bastard. We started true and genuine federalism in our manifesto, in APC Constitution. It's all online. I'm an insider. I'm not going to sit here. No matter what I will be facing in APC, I will not condemn my party openly. I have access. I will continue to fight inside, and we will continue to fight. And I refuse to say Now, sell out for what? Kí mo fẹ́ rà lọ́wọ́ ìjọba? Èyí tó lọ ṣe fún mi tẹ́ mi lọ́rùn. I'm fully contented.
Ẹ ṣé, mo dúpẹ́ púpọ̀, sir. Thank you very much indeed. Well, again, I would like to bring in Dr. Dosuma Awolowo at this junction. Over to you, ma'am. Ẹ dákun, ẹ bá mi dá sí.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Erelu. Màá kọ́kọ́ bẹ Papa Ayọ̀ Adébánjọ pé kán jọ̀ọ́ kán fọwọ́ wọ́nú. Màá tún dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Àrẹ̀mọ, His Excellency Chief Olusegun Oshoba, for that moderated response. Mo dúpẹ́ pé ẹ fi tàgbà ṣe. Nǹkan tẹ́mi kàn fẹ́ sọ ni pé tẹ́ ẹ bá rántí, both of you, in the UPN days, when the issue of allowances, outrageous allowances for legislators, from the national to the state legislators, I think you remember. And some UPN members, of course, were tempted to go along with the proposal for those outrageous allowances. And the party was totally against it because the party felt that that was money being wrongly spent. Because Papa was the leader of the UPN, he was able to step in directly and influence the legislators. He actually threatened at that time, I'm sure you remember what I'm saying, to go on a tour of all their constituencies and report them to their constituents that this is what they want to go and do in the legislature. And of course, they all kind of stepped back and the issue was laid to rest. The point I'm trying to make is that clearly, anyone who is not in the leadership of the parties that actually won elections into those legislatures would be a bit hampered in their influence on the legislators. And so my question perhaps to His Excellency is, what exactly is because this question should go to all political parties that are represented in the legislatures, actually. But because the others are not here, I can address that question to you, Chief Oshoba. What is the leadership doing in this direction, particularly the leadership in the Southwest? What is being done to influence the legislators to go in the direction of restructuring? Is there anything being done? Is there any pressure being mounted at the leadership level of the political parties, not just your own? Because that is really where we need to start. Yoba, this all boils down to one of the main issues for this meeting. Koeno is one of the things that is disturbing our interests in this country called Nigeria, because we're not together, not any longer, not like we were in the UPN days, in the days of Papa, when 99% of the people were together, in the same mission. That is a problem, surely. And I just want to know what the party leaders think about the quest for restructuring and what they intend to do about it. Sorry to put you on the spot, Chief Oshoba.
Thank you, Ambassador. It's not being put on the spot, it's asking for clarification and explanation. In the first place, as usual, we always meet with those of our party members from the Southwest, and we always give them the mandate of working towards true and genuine federalism. We hold series of meetings, and it is for them to now see how much they will sell our own agenda and ideas to other parts of the country and their colleagues. I'll give an example. During the time of third term agenda, in spite of the 50 million they were giving to that was given to every member of the National Assembly, we were able to manage their own people not to take the money and to fight, and they did. I can assure you, I will never disrespect Papa Yadibanjo. Even if when I disagree with him, I will explain myself to him. That is the training that we have in respect for elders, even though only Bibilomo at 81. We must start with Southwest. And we expect our party to support gbogbo àwọn tó jẹ́ kọ́ni ká máa ká ọmọ wa pọ̀. Àwọn fẹ́ bá wọn sọ̀rọ̀. Bẹ́ẹ̀ lálẹ́ ni o, ẹ fẹ́ bá wọn sọ̀rọ̀ ni o. That has not happened. I expect such to happen. I am at 81. I will not give up till I die. Papa didn't give up in politics. He did not resign till he died. He kept on still putting all of us together. I will remain, but there's a limit to I will continue to fight from within, and I don't want to stay too much about how much fight we are still putting in. Ours is to make sure that we get our legislators, and you can see the contribution of our members. Former Senator Nyoshu, when you repeat some of his clips, I'll try to remember his name now, you will see how passionate he's been preaching federalism and restructuring. We all agree on restructuring. The difference is that, should we just say one route, or we look for so many other routes? I'll give you an example of restructuring all over the world. Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia, UK, USSR, I'll give it, even Canada, the French and English-speaking Canada, they are two different nations, and they're living together, and they continue to argue and restructure. So I have only given examples. So to come back to your question, we are doing everything possible to educate our people, to make sure that they understand, and a lot of people need to be educated on what we mean by restructuring. Restructuring is simply simple. Let each ethnic group, each region take care of its resources, and like it happened under Papa Awolowo. And Papa Awolowo used the resources to do great things other than Kujasapo. I still insist, Ajadibanjo is my witness. I am today one of the governors who is not a guest of EFCC, who is not a guest of ICPC. So then, what am I then afraid of? Is it that they are putting the Damakul of EFCC on my neck or ICPC? I didn't have up to 100 yet of what they are collecting out revenue. And I'm proud to say there's no local government, no town, when I was governor. So we are talking to our people, we are preaching to them, but the problem we have is that we are within a group of all kinds of character in that National Assembly. And until we start trying to talk to them, and Papa Adebanjo, surprisingly, they took a good step. Sometimes they went to Senator like when he was president, for which I was happy about. And the video of what they did then is still on YouTube. All those presentations is on YouTube. Why did we give up on that? If we think the National Assembly is useless. Papa Adebanjo was in that team. Professor, all of them, Professor
Akintoye.
Papa Adebanjo, all of them, our leader, Edwin Clark. if they went to see Saraki then, and he knew what they found that the boys were doing, we need to encourage them whether they are good or bad. That's my position.
Can I come in again, please? Am I allowed? Can you hear me?
Please go ahead. You're
Yes.
still on the floor.
Thank you very much for that, Chief Oshoba. If I hear you correctly, then perhaps we are beginning to make progress. Are you saying that if Papa Adebanjo and people like him invite your legislators to a meeting, they would respond? Because that would be a step in fact, it would be a massive step in the right direction.
Of course,
Chief Oshoba.
àwọn people say, táwọn àgbààgbà ilẹ̀ Yorùbá tó bá pè wá, Chief Adébánjọ nìyẹn, á mẹ́tẹ̀ ló ti pè mí sílẹ̀, á lálé mi, màá bínú wọn dẹ̀ kó mẹ́. He will invite me, and when I get there, you are there one day when he said, Oshoba, àkúmọ̀ èyí tó ń ṣe, ohun tó ọ̀tún ni ó ń ṣòsì, kúsẹ́rin ni pé by age, he is free to say anything he likes to, even though I was his governor. Fine. Àkúmọ̀ èyí tó ń ṣe Oshoba. Torí pé kí n jáwọ́ Tinubu lẹ̀, mo dẹ̀ ní mi ò já wọn lẹ̀, kí n máa bọ̀, mo wá sọ pé òun ṣe ti ẹni, àbí òun ṣe ti Tinubu. As long as I'm in the same party, I will continue to argue internally. So I can assure you, I will give an example. When Papa Adebanjo was alive, he called a conference in Airport Hotel to draw up economic agenda for Yoruba. In fact, people like Doyin Abiola, Oduduwa, all Yoruba were present at that meeting in Airport Hotel when we were governor. And àwọn àgbààgbà wa ò lè pé Yorùbá ká ní kán gbẹnu sọ̀hún, àwọn èmi náà ti dàgbà because I'm 81, mi kì í ṣọmọdé mọ́dọ́, èmi náà ti di pa, just like Pa Adebanjo, I'm not Pa Oshoba. So if they call a meeting, why would we say no? On what basis? For the series that a sọ pé àfẹ́ gbọ́, bàbá àfẹ́ gbọ́ nǹkan tó fẹ́ sọ.
Yeah. Hello.
Yes. Hello, Mungo.
You are still on the floor.
Okay.
Over to you.
Okay.
Ẹ̀yin ló kàn ó.
Ṣé mi?
Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ẹni kẹ́ ẹ bá wa parí ọ̀rọ̀ yìí.
Ọ̀rọ̀ ti parí ara ẹ̀ báyìí o, torí Chief Oshoba ti fún wa ní wọ́n ti fún wa ní undertaking.
Erelu ẹjọ́ tí ambassador bá sọ̀rọ̀, mo fẹ́ sọ kékeré sí tó lọ àná. Yes, sir.
Ó dàbí pé wọ́n ti fún wa ní undertaking torí àwọn bàbá Adébánjọ, àwọn yẹn ń ṣiṣẹ́ rẹpẹtẹ outside of the formal setting. They have reached out. Wọ́n ti ní Southern and Middle Belt Coalition, wọ́n ti ní gbogbo ìgbà. If they could now have access to our legislators, kan ní káwọn yẹn náà ṣe the same thing láàárín ara wọn ń bẹ̀ yẹn àti gbogbo àwọn, even àwọn ẹlòmíì ní north west, north east. Surely there are some people there who feel that things should change and that we need to move in the same direction. Tomale make inroads. I'm sure we will be moving in the right direction. That is all I can say right now, because this is a major undertaking that we've heard from Chief Oshoba here. It's a major one.
Olodumare Seun, Daddy, over to you, sir. Papa.
Thank you very much. I thank you, Tokubo. That's what you should say, because you are the woman you want to be a mediator. I said, I thank Ambassador. As a woman, if you don't put oil in the fire, you should put water there. I thank you. But I don't want us to derail. I'm not here for any argument. The question Erelu asked, which you should have replied to, is what I have said and what Oshoba has said. And when Oshoba was replying me, you are saying what I did not say. I did not say you collected money. I used the word you sold out because you didn't press for what you signed for, not because you took money. Take me clear. That was the question Erelu asked is, what are you doing for this thing to be done? It was specific. And that's why I said they have sold out. Please listen to me. So when he now says you call them, Choba, you know me. You call you. Your party is denying what is restructuring. I say you have sold out, all of you. The vice president said, those who are talking about restructuring, they should tell us what they mean. That is the son of somebody with myself and the father were fathers of our law. That is the man who took Obasanjo to court over restructuring that they didn't pay for local government. Because now the VP is now asking me what is restructuring. And Oshoba mentioned it now that they took them to court over the local government affair. Why is the local government affair? Is under restructuring? What I'm now saying is that after you have gone there, what pressure did you make? You are now telling me I don't live in denial. And what Tokubo shouldn't tell you or what Orelu can't tell you. Oshoba, I said you have sold out, you and everybody. You said you came to me. I'm happy you mentioned that. And you did say that. I said you don't know where you are. Why did I say so? I was listening. Orelu laughed. But he said and the language I told you at that time is Kokono. But the Lord I used to, when you came to that meeting, we are trying to do a rally in Ibadan for restructuring. And I invited all Yoruba elements. I invited you, I invited everybody. I even contacted the governors because Tokubo had forgotten. That was what led to the Adamasigba rally. It was the consequence of guarding them that I invited Oshoba to the meetings out talking. When we are discussing about that, Oshoba didn't want a word in my house. And then I asked him, you have been the government, so you know about it. I've been for are you following? I'm happy to confess that. That is what he has done again today. You see, I don't want to publicly attack Oshoba. He knows more than what he should do. And one of the reasons why I'm very disappointed in him is that of all the other governors who are there, he's the oldest. Who should know better? He has told you how he has been dining with Awolowo and all that. And now he attended meetings. It's fine. Know the reason why we are there. And you know the issue I said that, well, even in the First Republic, we didn't say we should come, we should beg Balewa to let us reform the government. We told him and we took action. And is that action we asked you to take when you became governor? Don't take part in that government. I haven't got the mandate of the people of the Western region. And that is what Oduduwa is saying, that our representative, what are you doing there? You are a principal partner in the coalition. And you make sure you put restructuring in there. How can you get there now for 5 years? What did you do? All because Buhari does not agree. That's why you all keep quiet. And in fact, when Jonathan summoned the conference of 2014 for restructuring, which he said, I approached Jonathan, which he said, Tinubu opposed it. He said that conference is a diversion. You are the only person among them that came to that conference. They were APC, ACN, as well done. You were invited. Listen, if you call us. They were invited to that conference. None of the APC people came. And Oshoba came because he was a former governor. That was on the basis. And he told me that he will come.
Yes, sir.
Some of the governors who didn't attend sent MEC to me privately who took part in that meeting. All because they are fearing of Buhari who didn't like it. That is matter. And also, I shouldn't live in denial. When I say I've sold out, I don't money. You sold out the principle. The way you are, when you are writing editorial, the Independence Day, you are no longer there. And I'm saying you have sold out because the way you should be vocal and all that. Oh, for you, I'm not going to plead to Buhari to do the right thing. I'm going to argue with him.
Yes, sir.
And to say that is one of the people who are thinking that until so we cajole the people of the North, we can't get what we want.
Yes, sir.
On majority. What is right of the Northern people to do so? You have not done the right thing.
Yes, sir. Daddy, yes, sir. Let me make it quite clear to those of us who came late. This is a listening session. Please be attentive. This is a listening session. It's not one where you are here to come and pitch in. We are privileged to have 3 important people to talk to us. If you did come late, I repeat, you are here to listen. And let's listen. I also want to make it clear to us that this is the most important thing to be happening to us as Yoruba. So let us hear from those who knew Papa Awolowo, who have been at the helm of affairs of negotiating issues to do with the future, that we are all eager to find out how we're going to get there. So you are here to listen, and please listen. Daddy Eshesa. Daddy Eshesa. Eshesa.
Please.
Yes, sir.
Because there's an allegation that I don't want it to go on. You
Okay, sir.
know.
Yes, sir.
Which I believe, also, but I don't want to be a pretender.
Yes, sir.
How many times have I went to Tinubu's house myself and
Yes,
Ajayi, telling you, are we going to continue like this? Tinubu was telling me that, well, Awolowo didn't do right thing. We must woo these people of the North because they have majority. I called you. You were at the meeting where we are. I want to do rally at the government. You didn't say a word, and I accuse you of criminal silence. Now, all those governors in the Southwest, none of them I've not talked to. And for you to know, if you don't know, even some of your members who believe in my cause and are afraid of Tinubu, they are afraid at the time when they come to my house. They are all afraid. So if you telling the why you can't call them? Then none of you I couldn't call. I even approached them personally. And I've noticed of them who said Tinubu says seeking the yet to watch it to be looking after them. This is what you people are doing. And when I say you have sold out, you personalize it as if you didn't take government. No, you have sold out in principle. And by virtue of your position, you don't make your voice known as it should be known. What is wrong? Have you ever made a statement that we are not keeping to the manifesto of APC on that and socially? When Rufai made the recommendation, did you come out and say, what are we doing? You say we are working inside. All because you are clamoring. The fear of Buhari is the beginning of freedom. That's what you are doing. I'm telling you straight. If not so, tell us the way we did it in the First Republic. How did you come out as Yoruba people? But for the pressure, when we started Apoteco, you say you don't understand structuring. You're asking for devolution of power, local government. What is the structuring? And we are talking of we will go to the parliament. If that is necessary, if you are serious about that, if you don't know, you are telling I'm a lawyer. If you don't know, this is a political matter. If you pressurize Buhari, if you have any friends at all as a partner, you are a lame dog partner there. Before you came, you have already been saying that this constitution is making the governors a lame dog governor because they are governors without authority over the security.
Yes, sir.
And we have said
Eshesa.
that. I went first. I don't want Oshoba to be Peter. Ambassador asked him if I called them. You need to. I have called them. They would not come. They would not come because of Tinubu, who is having a quiet agreement with the Buhari to be president, deceiving him. And I've said in the papers openly that you are just deceiving yourself. And Oshoba knows. And Oshoba knows.
Eshesa.
Oshoba knows. I'm repeating it.
Daddy, sir. Ejosa.
What you people in APC are doing, which Erelu is telling you, you are selling the whole of Yoruba land. It is because you are not championing our cause. That is why Buhari is getting away with it. The power the Buhari is using on us today is because you bind with him. If you are sincere about the sincerity of the Yoruba and it's not doing what you want, why don't you get out of it? If you say you don't want it, why do you don't get out? That's the way to say you don't agree.
Daddy Eshesa, thank you very much, Daddy. I am delighted that we have the spirit of truth. And the spirit of truth is present. It's present because Papa is expressing the truth from his perspective. Thank you, Chief Oshoba, likewise. Sitting here in the seat, first of all, I thank all of those who have just joined us, whether you are watching from the Facebook or from the YouTube or you are watching live. We've come to a particular position. The position is the legacy left for us by Pa Awolowo is not going to be effectively utilized until certain steps are taken. Both Papa Adebanjo and Pa Chief Oshoba, both of them agree on that point, that the legacy is one that would be an effective tool to help us return to a Yoruba nation fit for purpose. Let me share a bit of knowledge with you. Papa Oshoba, I had a privilege in the year 2014 when the Ethnic Nationalities Conference took place to interview a number of you who represented Yoruba. I had the privilege of interviewing on my radio Agbe Oduduwa, Pa Debanjo, Pa Falaye, and so on and so forth. Let me now switch on my political hat. The fact remains that when the Ethnic Nationalities Conference was being planned, APC was very clear they were not going to take part. Very, very clear. And one wouldn't say they were wrong, because after all, it was a PDP agenda. If we, the Conservative of England, say we want to do something, of course, the opposition will say no, the Labour Party will oppose us. That is effective tool. But when APC was presenting itself for government, there was this issue about whether or not restructuring was going to be it. I also need to say it was quite helpful that persons like Senator Okuromu were part and parcel of the coordination of the Ethnic Nationalities Conference. And likewise, our dear Papa, Professor Bolaji Akiyemi. And after the conference, I asked questions about the outcome of that conference. We had a number of agreements reached at that conference. My impression from my interviews was that the Ethnic Nationalities Conference was the response to the Constitutional Conference that people had been waiting for. And I recall being very active looking at what took place. A lot of things were put in by the Yorubas. Now, I want us to go back, dear Papa Adebanjo and Papa Oshoba. The document, I mean, all that money that was spent for that Ethnic Nationalities Conference, where is the document? Where is the product? Why have we not got the product for people to look at. A lot of money was spent. We sent representatives from England. They were paid £12,000 to be able to be there. A heck of a lot of money. So why is it that that document is not available? The second thing I also know, have been an experienced politician, was I recall when APC came into government, they authorized some kind of independent consultation of how to bring about restructuring. Again, I cannot recall seeing the product of that. So one begins to question the reliability of APC to deliver. And let me make it quite clear, I'm not partisan. If it were PDP or SSS that were there, I would be objective. I come from a legal background. When matters are brought before me as a magistrate, I will look at evidence. And the evidence I am seeing is one where quite clearly APC seems to have accepted restructuring is the way forward. And let me also say, as an experienced British politician, in Britain, for a very long time, England was England and still England. I mean, English politician. Scotland is Scotland. Wales is Wales. We all have our flags. Wales has its own flag. Scotland has its own flag. England, we have our own flag. And yes, recently devolution became necessary. Yes, we that belongs to the English arena said, perhaps we should have the English bill so that non-English legislators could not take part in decision affecting England, because then it was about effective representation. So, Pa Oshoba, I am very grateful that you are here today. I would dare say that Papa Adebanjo is one of your constituents, if I dare use that word, because you are part and parcel of APC. And because you are part and parcel of APC, you are the most important person that can help us. I also recall interviewing on my radio Pa Bonigi about the difficulties that's been around affecting Yoruba people, how Mama Awolowo called Asiwaju Tinubu, all these people and these people and these people, and the day before they said no. There is obviously, there are misunderstandings that have led to, I would say, conflict that needs to be resolved. The conflicts can only be resolved when we start forgiving ourselves. That's the ethos of Agbakoni Tonile Oduduwa. That we Yorubas, we have got to understand that we cannot but argue, disagree, and get into conflict, but we have to resolve the problems. What is the way forward would be my question to Pa Oshoba. And I want to say to those who are out there and those listening, when I made a state visit to Ogun State in one of my mayoral year, I recall what I experienced. I would hope you are still the same person, and that is, please, what can we do now? Papa, whether you agree with him or not, passionately, he's saying, sold out, sold out, sold out. When I first became a conservative, many Londoners said, Black woman, conservative, sold out, sold out. Years on, many of them are falling on top of each other to get into British politics. So I'm sure you are used to people saying what Papa is saying. So you are the solution for us today, Papa Oshoba. You are going to please take a lead on this issue. What we want to do, since you seem to have the recipe for success, you seem to be saying restructuring is an agenda for APC. That's what you're saying. If that is real, then you're also saying there are so many ways to skin the cat, which means there are diverse ways to implement restructuring. And what is restructuring? We need to go back to what our sage, Papa Awolowo left us. I recall very clearly reading something which says, there are no Nigerians. No, it's a geographical expression. It's actually in my head, and I repeat it many, many times. That was one of the things he said. He was at the beginning of the negotiation to what we now call Nigeria. So my question to you, Papa Oshoba, is this. I'm afraid you are the only one who can help us. May I ask you, what is the way for? It's not about Papa Adebanjo inviting you for meetings now. I don't think so, Papa Oshoba. I think it's about you taking the lead to be able to bring closer the Yoruba legislators across the political colors and with the leaders of a movement that I heard. Please forgive me, I left Nigeria when I was 17, and I can't tell you that I recall anything to do with Afenifere Action Group and all of that. So let me say, Papa Oshoba, ẹ̀yin gangan lẹ́lẹ̀ bá tú òkété yìí, òkété ìṣòro tó wà fún wa yìí, tó jẹ́ pé èdè àìyedè ló sọ di òkété tó jẹ́ pé ó ṣeé ṣe kó má tiẹ̀ wúwo, ṣùgbọ́n wá wọ̀ wá lọ́rùn. Ó wá di wípé kí àwọn ọmọ wa kéékèèké kó máa sáré kiri, kó máa dún kiri, kí frustration máa jẹ wọ́n, kó máa sùn, kó máa wo, kí gbogbo ẹ ti sú wọn. Papa Oshoba, ẹ dákun, my question to you now is this. Are you able to take the leadership on our behalf and please find a way to facilitate meaningful dialogue between the leaders of Yoruba, led by Papa Adebanjo, including what I would say the successor of Papa Awolowo, that is Dr. Dosimo Awolowo. How can we take this forward, Papa Oshoba? The question is to you, sir.
Thank you very much. In the first place, I will start with the biblical injunction that says, judge not, so that you shall also be judged. With what you judge, you shall also be judged. I reject so loud on principle. Nobody can judge me on my character. And so, can you come out of me a big sell out the principle on character? I reject it. At my age, at 81, character has to do with even the way you run your life. And that's where I talk about corruption. Because a man who is corrupt in every way, whether corruption of mind, corruption of material, is corruption of any kind. I did not sell out. Secondly, I will not speak for Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. Neither will I speak for Bola Tinubu. The two of them are not here. I'm not here to defend anybody, and I'm not anybody's lawyer. I'm here as Segun Oshoba, and that has always been my life. I live my life as Segun Oshoba. Now, you talk of the conference. We were there. The APC was there. Ashwaju Bola Tinubu has the right to his own opinion. That's the difference in Awolowo. Papa Awolowo managed all kinds of character. And about Dr. Awolowo, Tinubu will confirm what Papa used to tell her and tell all of us. And Papa managed all of us with different tendencies. How come after Papa's death, it's not on me. I'm not Ilé ni a ti ń kó ẹ̀ṣọ́ ròde, ilẹ̀ Yorùbá ni ká ti kó ẹ̀ṣọ́ wa ròde. Kí ló dé tí Banji Akíntóyè tó yapa? Aláyọ̀dé ó yapa. Yorùbá Council of Elders ó yapa. Aláyọ̀dé yapa. Afẹ́fẹ́ ìrìnà whatever they call themselves, ó yapa káàkiri ṣá. À ń pín yẹlẹyẹlẹ. Ilé ni ká ti kó ẹ̀ṣọ́ ròde o. Èmi ò ṣe leader. Mi ò dẹ̀ claim to be a leader of anybody. I am Segun Oshoba, a genuine Yoruba, believer in Awolowo philosophy and his way of life, to which I try to live the way he lived his life. I'm proud to say, like Papa Awolowo, I have no child out of wedlock. So I am saying, ilé la ti ń kẹ́ṣọ́ lóde. Ẹ jẹ́ àwa Yorùbá ṣẹ́nu wá kò ń lé. Ká kọ́kọ́ wá bá ṣe máa panupọ̀ náà. Ẹ má ká mi máa kàn blame tọ̀hún. Dá lórí eléyìí, dá lórí tọ̀hún. Afẹ́nifẹ́re, all of us believe that Afẹ́nifẹ́re is the core Awolowo group. But Afẹ́nifẹ́re tendencies Awolowo manage within his family, political family. Dípò ká jókòó pọ̀, oníkálukú gba ilé ìyá ẹ̀ lọ. Ìyẹn lèmi ń sọ, ibi ká ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ nìyẹn o. It's not me. Please don't put on me. Let me Yorubas. Ká kọ́ bára wa sọ̀rọ̀. Ká pẹ̀lú wa pọ̀. All the tendencies, whether you agree with tendency or not, whichever tendency that is the part of Awolowo, let the tendencies come together. It's not me. The governors of our state sent delegations. Delegates were sent by APC governor in all Yoruba states to the national conference. Actually, Tinubu has the right to his opinion that he doesn't believe in the conference. I'm not under anybody. I'm not in any way obliged to Bola Tinubu. I've never been obliged for any cover. We have been running our politics in Ogun State. We have not collected any cover from anybody. When the Suki issue came up, I was not part of those who collected money from the Suki. I refused. So the issue is, Bola, as an individual, has a right to his opinion. But I want to make that correction. We were there at the conference. In terms of APC, all the governors were asked to put in, to nominate members for that conference as governors. So as to the issue, àwọn ni kí wọ́n jẹ́ ká lọ jókòó níbo kí ló fa tó ní ká kó máa yapa all the tendency between Yoruba within our whole family let all of us first of all Yoruba unity forum wà bẹ́ẹ̀ Bódìgí Ládìgbòlù bàbá Bódìgí àwọn náà wà lọ́tọ̀ kí ló dé tá a wà káàkiri ilẹ̀ Awólọ́wọ̀ ní Yoruba unity forum their core always why is it that we àwọn ọmọ Awólọ́wọ̀ àwa pìyẹlẹ oníkàgbáyé ilé ìyá ẹ̀ lọ ẹ jẹ́ ká padà sílé bàbá wa that is my own advice and suggestion ilé láti ká ẹ̀ṣọ́ lòdì tá a bá kó ẹ̀ṣọ́ lòdì láti ilé àwọn bàbá ti máa kọlu àwọn yòókù thank you.
ẹ ṣé dádì Adébánjọ ẹjọ sà ọ̀rọ̀ náà rè wọ́n ní ẹnu àgbà lóbì ń gbó tó ṣe bí òwe o ẹjọ sà kí ni àwọn wọ́n ní eléyìí ti yapa tòun ti yapa nǹkan kí lẹ ṣe lè rí wọn kó padà ó dádì wọ́n tún ní kódà àwọn Professor Banji Akíntóyè àwọn náà yapa ní dádì kí la ṣe fẹ́ ṣe ta fẹ́ rí wọn kó jọ sá o ẹjọ dádì Adébánjọ mo bẹ̀ yín sà.
ṣé ọjọ́ ọ̀bí mi ṣé ń gbọ́ mi yíyá mi.
mo ń gbọ́ sà.
ọ̀ ń gbọ́ mi.
dáadáa sà.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I don't talk under the cheek. I say it as it is.
Ẹ ti dé sí àgbà ẹ jẹ́ ká gbọ́ dáadáa ẹ sọ̀rọ̀ sókè bàbá ṣe mọ́.
I say I don't talk under the cheek. I say it as it is. I don't, when you put me on the public show like this.
Èmi ò gbọ́ ọ̀gá tó sọ.
Wọ́n ní àwọn ò kí sọ̀rọ̀ under the sheet. Wọ́n ní àwọn say it as it is.
Àwọn náà sọ as it is. Bó ṣe kọ́ wa ni ọ́, he's not the only one that says as it is. I also say it as it is. All sides.
Daddy Ọ̀ṣọ́bà, ẹ jẹ́ kí daddy dá mi lóhùn ìbéèrè pé gbogbo àwọn ọmọ tó ti yapa yìí.
Mo ká sókè ogiri bí kí n sọ látẹ̀kọ́ ni.
Ẹ ṣé sà, ẹ ṣé sà. Daddy, mo ń gbọ́ yín sà.
I'm just refraining myself. I don't want to be public with Ọ̀ṣọ́bà. All the insinuendos they have been sending, I deliberately avoid it. Well, I say I don't trust under the tree. I mention your name. Do you talk under the tree? The same thing when we are talking about number of governors who support the true cause of the action of the EPA. We said that only 4 only have government to support that. Do not support me 1.5. Oshoba, please. When it comes to between me and public life in this country, you are not the person I'm going to go into any argument with. And your reference to say you are power, you are 81. Who is disputing the question of power with you? Do I ask you not to call you power? Do you have to be said I too am power? I'm too am power. If you are jealous of the people calling me power, that's your business. I don't ask people to call me power. So when you are talking, don't talk straight. Erelu,
Yes, sir.
I beg you.
Yes, sir.
Oshoba is not in a position to do anything. And I want to repeat. He and others have sold out, no matter how he's trying to deviate, bringing in the irrelevancies. When I say you have sold out, I don't say you have taken money. That is the question you are now asking him. What step have you taken when you know that your stand, when you are going to an alliance with Buhari, and you know restructuring is important, and you don't do it? What have you done to satisfy what you want? That you're selling out? We don't ask you to be walking under the ground. What the Erelu is asking us, what are you doing to show that what the people of Yoruba land want? Whereas inside, you go inside and be controlled to Buhari. All of you. I don't miss my words. Telling me you are this, you are that. Who is asking me about that? I'm asking you about your son or Yoruba son. Then come and tell me we are all followers of Awolowo. The more followers we want, but how true, how accurate is your action with Awolowo's son? Does Awolowo meet people with you? Does it agree? You two are now saying APC is a angle of incompatible there, and you are there. Is that Awolowo policy? And when you formed the APC, I said openly that you are a collection of incompatible. All because you want to be in power, irrespective of what you are doing. So,
Daddy, Ejosa. Daddy, Ejosa.
The way he talks, he's always talking as if he has an authority over anybody.
Daddy.
When you want to talk to Prince Buhari, don't talk to me about it.
Daddy,
you and Buhari and others, you met me in this politics. So don't send me out. They have sold Yoruba out. Himself, Tinubu, and others, and Akonde. They have sold Yoruba out. They should take Yoruba what. And then come and tell us,
Daddy, kí la ṣe fẹ́ rí Yorùbá padà sà, papa sà, Ọlọ́run bá mi gùn ilé mi. Nígbà táwọn kan ti wá ta Yorùbá yìí bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe sọ yìí, kí la ṣe fẹ́ rà padà? Èló la fẹ́ san, ta fẹ́ fi rà padà, èló la fẹ́ san. Gbogbo àwọn olùgbọ́ mi wọ́n á sanwó láti rà padà. Kí la ṣe fẹ́ ra Yorùbá padà sà? Kí la ṣe fẹ́ rà padà? Daddy, yẹn ni mo bẹ̀ yín kẹ́ sọ fún wa o. Kí la ṣe rà padà?
The way to do it is to strike a nail on the head, to tell people like Oshoba that they have sold us out.
I'm a best daddy.
Hold on. I have my reason. I'm mentioning Tinubu.
Okay, sir.
When they say they are sold out, these are people you are elected on a platform. That thing is not done. What do you do about it? And I tell you, you have given excuses. And I gave an example of what we did, even when we are not the majority in the country. And I also mentioned the fact that the mandate we give you when you are elected. Now, you are talking about he will speak for BP. These are people in your party where you are strong. The morning Awolowo. The VP is turning out. I'm happy you said it was you heard from Awolowo said Nigeria is a geographical expression. The VP denounced Awolowo that is not the first one to say it. I don't want to go into all that. You are a collection of people who have denounced Awolowo away, all because you want to be. That is the position. And they said this to all Yorubas, all APC people with this government, they have sold you out. And particularly, people like Oshoba, politics of convenience is doing. Politics of convenience. You can never praise him. I won't consider my party because I'm outside. Why are you an independent man when your party is doing what you don't believe in? Is that not the purpose why you are in the party? Is that not the principle why you are there? Do people not the party when they say, oh, this is not the way we started? You are not going the way I'm out. What have you done? You are knowledgeable enough to do all that. You are doing things they say, well, I'm doing the work on that. I'm doing the work on that. They cannot do it. When I say, I don't want to say many things because not sure, but just be pretending. It is this type of thing you people don't know that are deceiving us. He and Tinubu are only using the Yoruba land to bargain for their position. I am saying it openly. And if you press me too much, I mention details.
Daddy, Egbotemi, sir. Daddy, Egbotemi, sir.
Now you ask me the question of the people, how do you get out?
Yes, sir. Benny, sir.
Tinubu use the platform of Afeni to get into office. We know what he did all that. This is not the way to do it. And he now got out, and by the time, Joe by saying, yeah, this one has broken away. Who has broken away? Actually, tell you has broken away. As far as I'm concerned, all this, Olori, this is one of them I'm telling you, when people say Yorubas are divided, they are not. It is those who are sold out of Yoruba that say we don't follow them. Why did he and Tinubu, why did they break out from the Afenifere? Because you are doing things that Awolowo will not do. You are following things that you don't do. You are collaborating with people who are oppressing the Yoruba people, and you can't talk because you are reaping something from there. That is the question. Don't whether you are power, that's not my business. I am saying you are not doing what Awolowo said down. An example is, if indeed you say you are in an organization of the compatible, will Awolowo do that? When the NPC asked us to come and form national government, you know about that? Awolowo said on what basis? And the basis of the quarrel between Awolowo and Akintola today is because Akintola wants us to join the NPC. And Awolowo said that we have not got the same program. If we have 10 programs, even if it's 5 programs that they have, I can join them, I can't do. That is what you inherit. That is what you never followed.
Daddy.
So when I talk about selling out, don't make it too personal. I'm not talking about Daddy.
But
I want this forum because the Yorubas are listening. And you always tell to them that you are doing their cause. You are following your personal interest. All the APC members there, I'm saying it publicly. And they challenge me too much. I will mention them all that they are doing. Because many of them, when they are in government, they do a lot of forgivable things, which they know Buhari has in hand. So that's why they can't oppose him. That is why they are selling the interests of Yoruba people. Don't come to the public again and say Yorubas are divided. Who told you? Borigi says doesn't want Yoruba freedom. Or Akintola tells you that.
Daddy Eshesa. Thank you very much, Daddy. Let me say from a political experience, it is not unheard of when people negotiate to get a candidate to represent them. I have to say worldwide, because I was actually broadcasting on my radio. People were concerned that His Excellency, the current president of Nigeria, was for many years seeking to be a president, and he was rejected many, many times. But many people all over the world were surprised that our dear brother, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, negotiated something, and he became the candidate. You see, I don't believe the internal Yoruba friction we've got would arise were it not for the fact that we have this entity called Project Nigeria, which requires us to come together across opinions that may be contradictory, and yet we have to find a way forward. Permit me to mention Europe, where we conservatives wanted to get England, and I say England rather than Britain, because for far too long, Winston Churchill told us, if we are to choose between the Blue Sea and Europe, we must choose the Blue Sea. We were to be friends with Europe, but we must not allow ourselves to be governed by Europe. Because once we get governed by Europe, we will lose our sovereignty. The Queen will be the underdog. And so we, the Conservative, fought hard to make sure our Queen does not go under. For every government of England, every government of Britain is the government of Her Majesty the Queen of England. It's been that, it still is, and most likely will be that. So let me say, there needs to be clarity. The clarity, in my view, is that for as long as you have political parties with four ethnic nationalities whose values are totally incompatible, that incompatibility will be devolved down. I can imagine what people who are in political parties in Nigeria are having to cope with, because they're having to cope with, people who are entrenched from the perspective of their own ethnicity. And perhaps rightly so, there's nothing wrong in that. So I think we have a problem with the nature of the geographical entity called Nigeria, which seems to have put together a group of people that are incompatible. And all these wheeling and dealing. I mean, recently we hear that Yorubas say they want to join with Igbo, and Igbo say they don't want to join with them. So I think at this juncture, I would say we say no more about this. We leave it as it is, because it is very clear that the purpose that we've gathered here today, which is to explore whether or not we are following the methodology that was used to negotiate the continued existence or the existence of Yoruba within Nigeria. That methodology is what we are auditing today. And it's very clear from what Papa is saying that what Papa Awolowo stood for has been taken into tangents, left, right, and center. Papa Adebanjo, I'm sure viewers will say, oh, Papa is a PDP. Papa supports PDP. And Asiwaju Bola Ahmed is APC. Now, and in terms of differences of opinion politically, we have to find harmony. That means those of us who are in PDP must be able to take forward what is considered to be the best interest of Yoruba people. Those of us who are in APC or whatever parties, and I think the ineffectiveness of the political tool is creating a problem. I want to say it's a new dawn. Honestly, as I said, when I entered into this project of seeking to bring to the attention of Yorubas that misunderstandings leads to conflict, and unresolved conflicts cannot become a reality until we forgive ourselves, Papa. And let's forgive gbogbo àwọn tí ẹni wọ́n sold out iṣẹ́ wọ́n ṣe, aláti dáríjì wọ́n, aláti dáríjì wọ́n.
Mo dáríjì wọn, mo dáríjì ara wọn ni o. Mo dáríjì wọn, wọn dáríjì ara wọn.
No,
No.
I reject it. Because I will not work.
Your Excellency.
No, sorry, that is your anybody.
Your Excellency.
So that you shall not be judged.
Your Excellency.
You shall also be judged.
Your Excellency.
Thank you.
ẹ wò ọ̀run yàbọ̀ lọ́rọ̀ ilẹ̀ Yorùbá kì í ṣọ̀rọ̀ ẹnìkan ibi tá a gbé wà yìí ibi tó jẹ́ wípé ká ní pàpà wà láyé inú wọn ò ní dùn rárá òun ni kò sẹ́ni kankan nù wa none of us will argue that the Yoruba nation is hurting right now and therefore we should do what Chief Awolowo would do, and that is to put aside all hurt, to put aside all gbogbo nǹkan tá a bá ti fi ṣera wa in order to salvage the Yoruba nation. Ẹ̀yin méjèèjì lẹ jù mí lọ, ẹ dẹ̀ wà nínú politics ju èmi lọ, politics wo lèmi ṣe, ṣùgbọ́n ẹ rántí wípé nígbà tí pàpà jáde ní prison aṣíwájú of Yoruba land tán jẹ yẹn was by acclamation kì í ṣe pé àwọn ọba kankan náà fi wọ́n jẹ. It was all the Yoruba leaders of thought at a meeting that was convened by General Adeyinka Adebayo, who was then the governor of Western Region. Tí n bá rántí dáadáa, tí n bá wrong ẹ jọ̀ọ́ correct me, ó dàbí ẹni pé àwọn Chief Akinjide náà propose idea yẹn ńjọ́ náà lọ́hùn-ún. Ipe Papa ni kó jẹ́ aṣíwájú, pé he should now be called Aṣíwájú of Yoruba land. Papa first of all rejected it at that meeting, from the minutes of the meeting, but wọ́n prevail lé wọn lórí. What I'm trying to say ni pé when a threat, when the Yoruba nation was facing a threat, they were able to come together and choose a leader, a credible leader that they knew would take them through that trying period. Wọ́n papọ̀. Èmi rò pé irú àsìkò yẹn la wà yìí o, là láti papọ̀. Ẹ jẹ́ ká gbàgbé gbogbo nǹkan tó ti ṣẹlẹ̀ sẹ́yìn. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ sà, Uncle Chief Adébánjọ, ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ń ṣe ni mo bẹ̀ yín gidigidi, mo máa bẹ̀ yín o. Mo mọ̀ pé ẹ ń bínú, ẹ ti bínú gan, ṣùgbọ́n ibi tá a gbé dé yìí, Ọlọ́run á fún yín lẹ́mìí gígùn o, ẹ̀mí yín á gùn, ẹ pẹ́ ń bẹ̀. Ṣùgbọ́n àdúrà náà ṣáà ní pé ẹni tí tó kẹ́lẹ́yìn má ṣáájú. Àdúrà tèmi ní pé ìgbà tẹ́ bá rí àwọn pàpà lọ́hùn, kẹ́ lè sọ wípé ẹ ṣe àtúnṣe. Chief Ọ̀ṣọ́bà ti sọ publicly lénìí wípé tán bá pe àwọn á wá, èmi fẹ́ dì wọ́n mú sí yẹn. Mo fẹ́ dì wọ́n mú sí yẹn, mo dẹ̀ fẹ́ sà pé ẹ jọ̀ọ́ sà, uncle, kẹ́ jọ̀ọ́, kẹ́ hold on to that. Gbogbo ayé ló ti gbọ́ ilé ni, àwọn kan wà lórí Facebook, àwọn kan wà ní, àwọn míì wà l'Amẹ́ríkà, mo ń rórúkọ àwọn tí mo ń rórúkọ ẹ̀, wọ́n tó jẹ́ Amẹ́ríkà náà ń gbé, àwọn pé wọ́n ń gbé UK. Gbogbo wọn náà ti gbọ́ o. Chief Ọ̀ṣọ́bà ti sọ wípé tán bá pè àwọn á dáhùn. He is the one in that party. Wọ́n lè ti má dáhùn tẹ́lẹ̀, but àwọn náà wà, mo rò pé ìyẹn ni Erelu ṣe ń sọ wípé àwọn ni kí wọ́n ní ọ̀rọ̀ yìí jálé lórí, because you are the insider. Ẹ̀yin lè jẹ́ kó ṣeé ṣe. Ipe kan pe àwọn èèyàn wọ̀nyí pé ntí Yorùbá ń wò lọ́ọ̀kan yìí, ẹ jọ̀ọ́, ẹ̀bẹ̀ làwa ń bẹ̀ yín o. Torí ẹ̀yin lè ṣe between ẹ̀yin àti Papa Adébánjọ, ẹ̀yin lè ṣe o. Kẹ́ pé àwọn tí ẹ lè pè nínú APC. I remember before the national conference, nígbà tí Dr. Okoromu, Senator Okoromu, he wanted to see Aṣíwájú on ṣe consultations káàkiri ńgbà yẹn, and he asked me to go along with them. Bàtà débẹ̀, of course, Aṣíwájú Tinubu was not in favour. A dẹ̀ bet ńjọ́ náà, mi ní sọ reason tá a ṣe bet. Mo bet pẹ̀lú ẹ̀ nígbà tá a sọ̀rọ̀ tán, mo ní aláǹfẹ́ nǹkan Yorùbá agenda yìí, ẹnu ẹ̀ ni mo bá yín. Pé a ti ń wá látijọ́ yìí, ẹnìkan wá ní ká wá gbà, mo ní mi ò ní béèrè nǹkan tó dé tó ṣe ní ká wá gbà o. Ṣe lèmi máa sáré gbà lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀ tí máa sáré. So mo dẹ̀ rí lẹ́nu ọjọ́ mẹ́ta yìí mo ní bet yẹn mo ní ẹ mà dé lose bet yẹn. He didn't argue. Ó ní òun àsán mo ní kì í tiẹ̀ ṣòwò. So a dẹ̀ fi rẹ́rìn síbẹ̀. So ẹ jọ̀ọ́ níṣe ni mo bẹ̀ yín báyìí nísìn. Nǹkan tí ẹ lè ṣe tẹ́ bá lè ṣe láti jẹ́ kí gbogbo Yorùbá ká jọ fèsì tó ń wò wá lọ́ọ̀kan yìí. Àfi tó bá jẹ́ pé mi rò pé ẹnìkan kan máa sọ pé gbogbo nǹkan ń lọ déédéé bó ṣe wà nísìn. And gbogbo àwa tá a wà lẹ́yìn irú ẹ̀yin yìí là ń wò wájú. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ Ọlọ́run la fi bẹ̀ yín o. Ńṣe ni kẹ́ gbàgbé gbogbo tàtẹ̀yìnwá. Uncle lẹ jọ̀ọ́ sà. Ọ lè ti pè wọ́n tẹ́lẹ̀ kan má dáhùn. Wọ́n ti náà wọ́n dẹ̀ máa dáhùn sìn. Ẹ jẹ́ ká gbà bẹ́ẹ̀. Ẹ jẹ́ ká gbà bẹ́ẹ̀ ká move forward. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ sà. Nǹkan tí mo fẹ́ sọ ń sìn nìyẹn. Ẹ má jẹ́ ká fi tàtẹ̀yìnwá ká fi ba èyí tó wà níwájú yìí ká fi bàjẹ́. There's a lot to be done. A lot to be done. A lot to be done. Tẹ́lẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀ Yorùbá ló máa ń dictate pace ní Nàìjíríà yìí. Kí ló dé wá dé? Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ sà. Nǹkan tí mo fẹ́ sọ ń sìn nìyẹn.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Papa Awolowo has just spoken. Wọ́n ní bíná bá kú àfẹ́rúbojú, wọ́n fọ tọ́gẹ̀dẹ̀ bá kú àfọmọ rẹ̀ rọ́pò ní agbára Ọlọ́run àti Papa Adébánjọ àti Papa Ọ̀ṣọ́bà àti èmi àti gbogbo ẹ̀yin olùgbọ́ mi pátápátá. Ẹ̀yin náà ríru Dr. Dosunmu Awolowo ìtàn máa gbẹ̀yìn yín o. A rí bẹ́ẹ̀ fún gbogbo yín, a rí bẹ́ẹ̀ fẹ́mi náà. Kódà mo wojú yeye omi fẹ́ máa bọ́ lójú wọn sá.
Erelu, àwọn tó gbọ́rọ̀ yìí ẹ lè jẹ́ kó béèrè kankan lọ́wọ́ wa nígbà táwa ń bí yìí.
Dádì, ẹ sì mọ ibi tí mò ń gbọ́rọ̀ yìí lọ.
Àpàtẹ parí ọ̀rọ̀.
Dádì, ṣe rí ẹjọ́ sà, mo bẹ̀ yín ni ṣe rí àwọn èèyàn mi mo rò pé mo wọ́n díẹ̀. Ṣe ibi tí ńgbà tí mo pè yín, wọ́n ní bá a ṣe fẹ́ orí bẹ́ẹ̀ náà lórí. Èmi la ò ní yọ̀ sí, èmi la ò ní yọ̀ sí bí n ṣe fẹ́ orí bẹ́ẹ̀ náà lórí. Èmi la ò ní yọ̀ sí. Èdè àìyedè mo torí ẹ̀ pé yín tí mo dábálé Ifá náà dẹ̀ ti fọ́re. Mo ti rédí àìyedè náà. Kò sí ní táwọn kankan tún lè sọ lé. Ẹ má jẹ́ ká tún kọjá ibi tí yèyé ti sọ̀rọ̀ sí. Àwọn olùgbọ́ mi, I want to apologize wholeheartedly to all of you who may have issues to raise. I dare say, by the grace of Almighty God, by the grace of Almighty Olodumare, we will reconvene at some point. I hope everybody will agree with me that at this junction, attempting to ask questions may in fact not necessarily add value to what we have done today. I want to thank Papa Oshoba because he's actually stayed longer than necessary. But at this junction, I'll hand over to Torera to round off. And whilst I'm thanking you in advance, Torera, because you've done exceedingly very well. Very proud of you. Over to you.
Thank you, and I'd like to thank everybody who attended on the panel today. It was very insightful, very enlightening, and I've definitely learned a lot, and I hope everybody has too. So we're going to round it off now, and I'm just going to simply end and say goodbye to everybody. Thank you again for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon. Thank you and goodbye.
Odigba, over to the studio.
Thank you very much, Jerilu.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Nice to see you. Tora Olaya.
You, man. Take care.
Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, that was a very awesome session. Thank you very much for everybody. Thank you so much, moderator. That was very informative.
This is Adedayo Adedotun Owolabi Adenowo. That was a fantastic session. Thanks very much, ma'am. And Torira. Bye-bye.
This is David Adenekan. Thank you, Yahweh.
Brush up your Yoruba so that next time you can speak Yoruba better.
That is true.
Alright, a máa kọ́ ẹ ní Yorùbá o, ṣùgbọ́n. Àwa kan wà níbí tá a máa kọ́ ẹ ní Yorùbá.
Video, good night. Shut down, please. Thank you.
Hello.
All the
Thank
very
you,
best.
ma. Erelu, thank
Hello,
you.
Governor.
Pleasure.
Ẹ kú iṣẹ́, ma.
Thank you.